Chapter 504. 504 Heading to the Central Continent. The middle-aged deacon brought Lu Ming along to complete the mission procedures. Lu Ming, come to the Hall of Missions tomorrow morning and gather with the others. Form the first group of reinforcements and head to Tianxian Sub-Palace. After that, there will be a few more groups heading to Tianxian Sub-Palace separately, the middle-aged attendant said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. He then left the Hall of Missions and returned to the Eastern Sky Courtyard. Sitting cross-legged in the courtyard, Lu Ming's thoughts were running wild. Tianxian Sub-Palace, the Sheng family. Senior sister Mu Lan should be in Tianxian Sub-Palace too. Alright, even if Tianxian Sub-Palace is a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, I, Lu Ming, will still go there. Then, Lu Ming continued to study the concept of fire. After this period of comprehension, the fire concept was about to reach the level of condensing concept runes. As long as the fire concept condensed into concept runes, then the wind, fire, fierce lightning concepts would all reach concept runes. Lu Ming's combat strength would undoubtedly be greatly improved. Moreover, he could even cultivate the fourth level of the Dragon God's three absolutes. Beside a small lake, Mu Zheng was standing with his hands behind his back. Mu Shuyuan was standing beside him. Sixth uncle, the Sheng family is so fast. They actually used this trick to summon Lu Ming to Tianxian Sub-Palace. What should we do now? Mu Shuyuan said. The Sheng family's move is indeed brilliant. Even I can't refuse it. Lu Ming's arrival in Tianxian Sub-Palace is undoubtedly a dangerous move. Mu Zheng sighed slightly. How about this? Yuan Xiu, you go to Tianxian Sub-Palace immediately and wait for an opportunity to take care of Lu Ming. Mu Zheng continued. All right, I'll set off immediately. Mu Shuyuan nodded, and then his figure flashed, and he disappeared without a trace. In the Lightning Palace Master laughed wildly and was extremely carefree. Haha, Lu Ming, you'll be dead by the time we get to Tianxian Sub-Palace. I'll just wait here for your good news. A day passed in the blink of an eye. The next morning, Lu Ming arrived at the missions hall. There were already some people gathered in the mission hall. Lu Ming swept his gaze across them. There were men and women, young and old, but all of them were martial kings. A few of them had terrifying auras and were unfathomable. Lower-tier king tier. Those people were definitely lower-tier kings. The number of people was still slowly increasing. More than 10 minutes later, there were exactly 50 people in the missions hall, including Lu Ming. At this moment, an old man walked into the mission palace hall. Palace Master. Greetings, Palace Master. Everyone saluted. This old man was Mu Zheng, the Palace Master of the Eastern Palace of the Tianxian region. Mu Zheng revealed a warm smile. He swept his gaze across the room and his eyes stopped on Lu Ming for a moment. Well, now the first batch of 50 people heading to the Tianxian Sub-Palace has arrived. You can set off immediately. Remember, in the process of killing the enemy, you must try your best to protect your own safety. I'll be here waiting for your return. Thank you, Palace Master. We will definitely try our best to protect our sleevers. Then, we will try our best to kill the enemy and make a contribution. We will spread the divine might of the Eastern Tianxian region. Everyone replied. All right, let's go. Mu Zheng waved his hand. Lu Ming and the others bade farewell to Mu Zheng and set off for Tianxian Sub-Palace. The Tianxian Sub-Palace was located in the middle of the Tianxian region. It was 10 times the size of the eastern part of the Tianxian region, and the spiritual qi was extremely rich. There were many geniuses and experts. That place was the core of the Tianxian region. Over there was no doubt that the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace would be the hegemon, controlling everything. There were also some small powers that were attached to the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. There were 2 great clans in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace that controlled everything. One was the Sheng family. The Sheng family had an extremely long history. Even before the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace appeared, the Sheng family had already existed. They were undoubtedly the overlord of the mysterious sky region. The other clan head was the Mu clan. The current palace master of the Heaven Mystic Palace was the Mu clan's clan master. The Mu clan could be said to be a new clan in the Tianxian region. It had risen to power less than 100 years ago, but its strength was extremely powerful. The two great clans stood at the peak of the Tianxian region. The eastern part of the Tianxian region was extremely far away from the Tianxian subpalace. Even if all of them were martial king realm martial artists, it would still take them a month to reach the Tianxian subpalace. Everyone headed toward the Tianxian subpalace at lightning speed. Among them, some of them were smarter. They had guessed that the reason why Lu Ming was summoned to Tianxian subpalace was most likely related to the Sheng family. They stayed far away from Lu Ming. Lu Ming could not be bothered and continued on his way. Every 3 days, they would stop to rest and recover their true qi. Soon, half a month had passed, and everyone had already left the eastern region of the Tianxian region and entered the central region. However, there was still a long way to go before they could reach the Tianxian subpalace. On this night, the group stopped in a valley. Someone lit a bonfire, caught demonic beasts, and roasted their meat. Lu Ming stood alone at the side and lit a bonfire as well. Then, he rushed into a large mountain and brought back a strong horned sheep. After cleaning the horned sheep, he began to roast the meat. Very soon, a fragrant aroma filled his nose. The mutton became oily and shiny. Lu Ming took out a jar of wine and ate and drank alone. Haha, good wine, this is really good wine. Brother Lu, can you let me, old Zhuang, have a taste of this wine and meat? A tall and burly man with strong arms walked to the bonfire and grinned. Of course you can, please, Lu Ming said with a smile. The burly man's name was Zhuang Hong. He was extremely powerful and was one of the 3 lower-tier king tiers among Lu Ming's group of 50 people. However, he was honest and sincere, so he didn't think too much. Along the way, he was the only one who would talk to Lu Ming occasionally. Zhuang Hong grinned and sat down. He then tore off a leg of lamb and started eating. It's so fragrant. It's so fragrant. The meat is fat but not greasy. So many people have roasted meat, but I still like yours the most, Brother Lu. Zhuang Hong's mouth was full of oil as he loudly praised. Lu Ming smiled and waved his hand. A jar of fine wine appeared and he threw it to Zhuang Hong. Zhuang Hong took it, opened the lid, and took a big gulp. He praised, "Good wine, it's really good wine, please." Lu Ming smiled and started to eat and drink. Brother Lu, to be honest, I really admire you. Even in the face of the Sheng family, you can still hold your head high. You can say whatever you want and scold whatever you want. That's a true warrior and a true man. I admire you. Come, let me toast to you, Zhuang Hong said as he ate. Lu Ming clinked his glass with Zhuang Hong's and took a big gulp from the wine jar. Brother Lu, I have high hopes for you. With your talent, you will definitely be able to defeat those arrogant geniuses of the Sheng family in time, Zhuang Hong shouted again. At this moment, Lu Ming frowned and his expression changed slightly. There's the smell of blood. Lu Ming muttered. Brother Lu, we've killed so many demonic beasts just now. Of course, there's a bloody smell. Zhuang Hong was stunned. It's not the smell of demonic beasts' blood, but of humans. Lu Ming frowned. The bloodline of the 9 dragons had devoured a large amount of blood essence from humans and demonic beasts. Therefore, Lu Ming could easily tell the difference between the blood of humans and demonic beasts. Ah! Suddenly, a shrill scream came from the forest in the distance. Chapter 505. 505 The Ambush of the Heavenly Corpse Sect. Everyone's expression changed. That's Suo Chio's voice. He just went to hunt demonic beasts. What happened? What kind of danger did he encounter? Someone shouted. Ah! At this time, another scream was heard. It's Zhao Er. He's also hunting demonic beast. Someone exclaimed. Let's go and take a look. Someone shouted. Then, 7 or 8 voices flew in that direction. They stood in the air and looked down. However, it was night time after all, and their vision was obstructed. They seemed to be unable to see clearly, so they flew down. In the next moment, screams of pain were heard. In just a few breaths, there was no more sound. 7 to 8 martial king powerhouses had just disappeared without a trace. Enemies! Gather together! Hurry up! Don't be defeated one by one. A few roars rang out. It was the other two lower-tier king tiers. Lu Ming and Zhuang Hong also gathered around the crowd. 40 people were gathered together. What is there? 8 martial kings were taken care of so quickly, someone said in a serious tone. Shosho. At this time, everyone heard a rustling sound. In the middle of the night, it was particularly horrifying. What is it? Everyone focused their attention and widened their eyes to observe their surroundings. Not good, it's under my feet. Lu Ming suddenly shouted. What? The others were stunned. Bang! Suddenly, a pitch-black beast claw stretched out from beneath the foot of one of the Detian Divine Guards and grabbed one of his feet. What is it? The Detian Divine Guard roared in shock. His cultivation was at the mid-stage of the first level of the Martial King realm. At this moment, he unleashed his full power and slashed at the beast's claw. But a shocking scene happened. When the saber hit the beast's claw, it was as if it had hit some kind of extremely hard steel, and it made a sound of metal clashing. He couldn't cut it. Roar. A beast's roar rang out from the ground. The beast's claw pulled and one of the Detian Divine Guard's legs was torn off. All of this happened in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint. By the time the crowd reacted, the Detian Divine Guard was already dead. What demonic beast? Die. At the side, a few Detian Divine Guards roared loudly, and violent attacks bombarded the demonic beast. Boom. With a few explosions, a large pit was blasted out in that area, but there was no trace of the demonic beast. Ah! Suddenly, another scream came from another direction. A first-level Martial King Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard was killed by a beast's claw that had extended from the ground. What kind of demonic beast is this? Why can't I feel any aura? Someone shouted in shock. Corpse, that's a demonic beast's corpse. There's no life force at all. Finally, someone discovered the truth. A demonic beast's corpse. Everyone was shocked. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. All of a sudden, a sharp air-piercing sound rang out. From all directions, black shadows shot towards them. It was faster than a sharp arrow. Be careful. With a loud roar, everyone burst out with powerful Zhen Yuan. Their bodies were filled with all kinds of light, and beams of light burst out. Boom! Boom! With a loud boom, the black shadows were sent flying back. Who's that? Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He could clearly see that those black shadows were actually black chains. It's the Heavenly Corpse sect. Lu Ming shouted. What? The Heavenly Corpse sect? How did the Heavenly Corpse sect know that we are here? Someone cried out in disbelief. Although their departure was not a secret, the route they were going to take first was very secretive, and not many people knew about it. How did the Heavenly Corpse sect find them? Could it be a coincidence? Kaka, I didn't expect that the people from the eastern part of the Tianqian region could recognize us so quickly. This is really unexpected. A cold voice came from the forest in the distance. Who? Whoosh. Then, everyone saw coffins flying out from the surrounding forest. These coffins were big and small. They floated in the air and blocked their way out. There were at least 100 of them. Kachachi. The coffins opened, and figures walked out of them. Refined corpses. The first to walk out were all refined corpses. Their faces were pale, and within the paleness, there was a hint of black. His body was wrapped in black iron chains. In addition to these human-shaped refined corpses, there were also beast-shaped ones. Roar. A few black panther-like demonic beasts with red eyes and fangs in their mouths roared. However, there was no sign of life on their bodies. They were also refined corpses. Other than human corpses, the corpses of demonic beasts could also be refined into refined corpses. Demonic beast-type refined corpses were known as demonic corpses. It was obvious that this was the kind of demon corpse that had been hiding underground to launch a sneak attack. Following closely behind these refined corpses were black-robed corpse guards with pale faces. There were more than 200 refined corpses and close to 100 corpse guards. Hihi, it's no wonder that we've been lying in ambush here for a few days. With 50 Martial King corpses, we can refine 50 powerful refined corpses. A corpse guard sneered. How is that possible? How did you know we would pass by here? How could you have set up an ambush in advance? One of the Ditien divine guards called out in disbelief. Hihi, you're going to die soon anyway, so there's no harm in telling you. Of course, someone informed us. A corpse guard sneered. What? Everyone was shocked. There was a traitor. A traitor had leaked their information to the Heavenly Corpse sect. Damn it, who is it? Someone roared. Could it be the Sheng family? Lu Ming's mind was racing. His first suspicion was the Sheng family. The Sheng family knew that he was among this group of people and wanted to use the Heavenly Corpse sect to get rid of him. However, was there a need to sacrifice the lives of the other 49 Ditien divine guards? This was too ruthless. Hihi, you can all go to hell. Close to 100 corpse guards started to control the refined corpses. More than 200 refined corpses were emitting a powerful aura. King, these refined corpses were all king-level refined corpses. 9 of them had extremely powerful auras, and they were actually at the level of lower-tier king tiers. Everyone's expression changed. This was a terrifying force. There were 9 lower-tier refined corpses, 200 refined corpses from Lever 1 to Lever 3 Martial King Realm, and almost 100 corpse guards. The strength of this energy was several times that of Lu Ming and the rest. In order to deal with them, the Heavenly Corpse sect had actually dispatched so many experts. This was a sure kill. Lu Ming and the rest did not even have the chance to escape. It was because it was impossible to escape in such a situation with such a great disparity in strength. Lu Ming's expression turned extremely grave. Charge. Let's work together and charge in one direction. Zhuang Hong roared as he led the charge towards the west. Charge, charge. The other 2 lower-tier king tiers also rushed toward that direction together with Zhuang Hong. The others also gathered together and attacked together. Chapter 506. 506 Tragic. You want to rush out? In your dreams. Kill them all. A corpse guard with an extremely powerful aura shouted. This corpse guard's cultivation had already reached the lower tier of a king. Buzz, buzz. The sky was filled with iron chains that looked like black poisonous snakes. The black chains either stabbed towards the crowd like spears or wrapped around them like ropes. Clang, clang, clang. Everyone's attacks landed on the chains, but they were all bounced back. Only the attacks of 3 lower-tier king tiers managed to break through dozens of chains. But dash, buzz, buzz. The 9 lower-tier refined corpses roared and waved their arms. A few chains flew out from each of them and swept toward the 3 lower-tier kings. With a loud boom, the 3 lower-tier king tiers were also sent flying back, unable to break through. Damn it! What do we do? Some people panicked and couldn't rush out at all. Kill. The corpse guard shouted. The refined corpse roared, and the iron chains swept across the sky, killing everyone. Someone screamed as the chains pierced through his body and he was killed. In a few breaths, another 4 to 5 people were killed. Continue charging. Zhuang Hong roared as he charged forward with all his might. However, the 3 of them were completely blocked by the 9 lower-tier king-level refined corpses. It was impossible for them to get out. For a time, everyone was caught in a bitter battle, and people were constantly killed. What do we do? Lu Ming's brows were tightly furrowed. He waved the long spear in his hands, continuously blocking the chains from all directions. The difference between the 3rd and 4th level of the Martial King realm was the dividing line between a lower king and a lower-tier king. Therefore, the difference between the 3rd and 4th level of the Martial King realm was not a simple one, but 2 levels. Therefore, although Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the 2nd level of the Martial King realm, he was no match for a king tier of the lower tier of the 4th level. Zhuang Hong and the other 2 lower-tier kings were all at Lever 4 Martial King realm. If they could not break through, it would be difficult for Lu Ming to do so as well. Ah! Screams rang out. Another person was killed, and his body was dragged out by the chains. At this moment, their numbers were less than 30. Furthermore, Zhuang Hong and the other 2 lower-tier king tiers were also in a tough battle. Being besieged by several refined corpses of the same level that were impervious to swords and spears, they were no match for them at all. It had only been a short while, but they had a few more wounds on their bodies. Buzz, buzz. The chains danced in the air, and one of the lower-tier king tiers was caught by one of them. Damn it, break. The lower-tier king tier roared as he tried to sever the chains. However, after a few consecutive slashes and sparks, only a shallow dent appeared on the chains. Whoosh! A metal chain pierced through his chest. It was as fast as lightning. The Detien Divine Guard roared loudly and tried his best to shift his body to the side. Poochie! The iron chain was like a long spear, directly piercing through his shoulder, and blood splattered everywhere. He, don't even think about resisting. Die and become my refined corpse. On the side, the corpse guard's cold laughter came. In your dreams, scumbags of the heavenly corpse sec. Don't even think about refining my corpse into a refined corpse. Run. I'll block them. The Detien Divine Guard's eyes were bloodshot as he roared at Zhuang Hong and the others. At the same time, the aura on his body went berserk. Damn it, he wants to self-destruct. Stop him. One of the Detien Divine Guards shrieked. Ha ha ha. The Detien Divine Guard laughed loudly. Charge, charge, charge this way. Zhuang Hong and the others gritted their teeth and suddenly changed their direction, madly rushing towards the other side. Boom. At this moment, an earth-shattering explosion was heard, and violent energy spread in all directions. The Detien Divine Guard had self-destructed. The power of a fourth-level lower-tier king tier's self-destruction was beyond imagination. The 9 lower-tier refined corpses were sent flying, and some of the lower-tier refined corpses were directly blown into pieces. With a large number of refined corpses blocked, the pressure on Zhuang Hong and the others was greatly reduced. Boom. Boom. Zhuang Hong, another lower-tier king tier, Lu Ming, and a few other powerful Empyrean Sky Divine Guards joined forces and blasted a huge hole in the refined corpses' encirclement. Charred. Buzz. Buzz. Immediately, they rushed toward the gap. Lu Ming followed closely behind Zhuang Hong and rushed out of the gap. Damn it, block it, block it. A large group of corpse guards roared. Iron chains flew across the sky, and that gap was instantly blocked. There were still more than a dozen people who did not manage to escape and were trapped inside. In the next moment, screams rang out one after another. However, Lu Ming and the rest could not care so much because there was still a barrier in front of them, and that was the corpse guard. You want to leave? Impossible. Die. The corpse guards made their moves. Corpse chi surged and all kinds of palm winds, claw gleams, and blade auras that contained corpse chi blasted toward Lu Ming and the others. As long as these corpse guards stopped them for a while, they would be in danger, because those refined corpses would immediately surround them. Boom. Boom. Zhuang Hong and the other lower-tier king-level corpse guards were blocked. The other side was also 2 lower-tier king-level corpse guards. If the corpse guards got rid of the refined corpses, their combat power would be weaker than martial artists of the same level, but it was no problem to hold them back for a short time. Hee, die, bastard. A lever 3 Martial King Realm corpse guard clawed at Lu Ming with its claws. You're the one who's going to die. Lu Ming's gaze was cold. He twisted his spine like a dragon and thrust his spear forward. An extreme strike. After breaking through to the Martial King Realm, the power of an extreme strike was extremely terrifying. Poochie. This corpse guard's head was directly pierced by the spear, and he died. Once this corpse guard died, the few refined corpses he controlled stopped in the air, not moving at all. However, there were too many refined corpses, and it didn't matter if a few of them stopped. Buzz. Lu Ming's figure flashed past and he was about to break out of the siege. Stop right there. A cold shout was heard. A saber ray filled with corpse chi was aimed at Lu Ming's waist. Lu Ming held his long spear horizontally and blocked in front of him. Clang. A terrifying force gushed toward Lu Ming. His body trembled and he could not help but retreat. A corpse guard with a pale face and a saber in his hand appeared in front of Lu Ming. Without a doubt, he was a king tier at the lower tier. Buzz. Buzz. At this moment, 9 refined corpses of the lower tier king level were madly rushing over. The iron chains crossed the sky and rushed over. Dandan, smash it. At this moment, Lu Ming shouted in a low voice. Buzz. Dandan, who had been hanging on the ends of her hair, trembled slightly and flew out with a swoosh, smashing towards that corpse guard's face. Ever since Dandan had eaten the heavenly tribulation last time, she seemed to have been digesting it. It was only a few days ago that she had digested it and had a reaction again. Lu Ming fixed his gaze on it. He wondered what the effect would be after he digested the heavens test. It's just a piece of rock, break it. That corpse guard sneered and slashed out a saber ray, wanting to cut Dandan into pieces. However, Dandan completely ignored those blade lights and rushed past, directly smashing towards that corpse guard's face. Bang! A sound that made one's teeth ache was heard. Chapter 507. 507 The situation in the Divine Wilderness Continent. Dandan accurately smashed into the Ditien Divine Guard's face. Ah! The Ditien Divine Guard let out a blood-curdling screech and retreated frantically. Lu Ming saw that his face was already smashed to pieces. His facial features were completely deformed and had rotted into a mess. Even his head had almost exploded. If it wasn't for the fact that lower-tier King Tiers had extremely strong vitality, an ordinary person would have already lost their life from this injury. Buzz! Buzz! At this moment, the 9 refined corpses of the lower-tier King-level cultivators had arrived. Some of the chains were flying towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming, run! I'll stop them. Zhuang Hong appeared in front of the 9 refined corpses and shouted. Old Zhuang, let's go together. Lu Ming shouted. Let's go together. No one can escape. You should leave quickly. We've been betrayed this time. Someone must escape, find the mastermind, and take revenge for us. Zhuang Hong roared. Boom. Immediately after, the true energy within Zhuang Hong's body began to surge. It's this move again. Damn it, move aside and kill the others. Damn it, dodge. The corpse guards all roared. Lu Ming, find the mastermind and take revenge for us. These were Zhuang Hong's last words. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a huge explosion. Zhuang Hong had self-destructed. The terrifying energy swept in all directions, and the corpse guards retreated. Whoosh! Amidst the violent energy waves, a storage ring flew toward Lu Ming. It was Zhuang Hong's storage ring. It was obvious that even if Zhuang Hong were to die, he would not want to let the Heavenly Corpse sect benefit. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and grabbed Zhuang Hong's storage ring. Die. Those from the Heavenly Corpse sect must die. The mastermind must die too. I, Lu Ming, swear that I will avenge you. Lu Ming roared in his heart, bursting with an intense killing intent. Not long ago, Zhuang Hong, this straightforward and burly man, had been drinking and eating with him. Now, he had died a tragic death, not even leaving behind a corpse. Lu Ming's killing intent soared to the sky. Dandan! Lu Ming shouted again. Dandan trembled slightly and rushed out again, smashing towards the corpse guard whose face had already been smashed. Bang! This time, it was even worse. That corpse guard was almost smashed to death. Gakudo path attack. Lu Ming turned into a ray of spearlight and disappeared in a flash. The corpse guard did not have time to react and was killed by Lu Ming. A lower-tier King Tier had died just like that. With the corpse guard dead, there was no longer any obstacle in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming rushed over and devoured the other party's blood essence. At the same time, he took the storage ring. Buzz! Buzz! At this moment, a few Ditien Divine Guards also took the opportunity to rush out and run away. Chase them, don't let a single one of them escape. A corpse guard roared. Nearly 100 corpse guards took the refined corpses and split into several groups as they chased after the Ditien Divine Guards. Brat, die. There were also some corpse guards who hid behind the refined corpses and charged at Lu Ming. Heavenly Corpse Sect, I'll remember this. Lu Ming said coldly. He then turned around and stepped out. 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Step. Buzz. Using the 9 Dragons Heaven Treading Steps, Lu Ming's speed was so fast that he disappeared into the distance in an instant. No matter how the corpse guards chased, they couldn't catch up. Damn it, this brat got away. A corpse guard unwillingly shouted. Let's go after the others. We can't let more people escape. Immediately after, these corpse guards all chased in several other directions. Lu Ming cast the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps and moved at a terrifying speed. It did not take long for him to appear 100,000 miles away. Buzz! He rushed into a mountain forest, his eyes extremely cold. This time, it was too tragic. They had 50 people, and almost all of them were annihilated. In the end, only a few people managed to escape. The fate of those few people was also unpredictable, because most of them were injured and might not be able to escape the pursuit of the Heavenly Corpse sect. This time, Lu Ming had to thank Dandan. Otherwise, he might not have been able to break out of the encirclement. He also had to rely on the extreme speed of the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps to escape from the Heavenly Corpse sect's pursuit. Heavenly Corpse sect will have to settle this score sooner or later. Also, that mastermind behind the scenes. Who's the one who betrayed us? Is it the Sheng family? Lu Ming kept thinking in his heart. Currently, the Sheng family was the most suspicious. After a moment, Lu Ming had an idea and appeared in the Supreme Shrine. Then, he began to refine the blood essence. The Corpse Guard was a lever 4 Martial King Realm King, a king tier with rich blood essence. Lu Ming used all of it to improve his 9 dragon bloodline. Unfortunately, after the blood essence was completely refined, the 9 dragon bloodline was still at the 6th level of the king tier. It seems that it's too difficult to advance to the 7th level of the king tier. Lu Ming sighed. Up until now, he had never seen anyone with a 7th level king bloodline other than Xian Yanqing. No matter if you were a genius or a demon, you were still a 6th level king. This was the highest level. It seemed that there was a gap between the 6th and 7th level of the king level. Lu Ming pondered for a moment. He then moved his fingers and a few storage rings appeared in his palm. 2 of them belonged to the corpse guards that Lu Ming had killed and 1 belonged to Zhuang Hong. Old Zhuang, I wonder if you have any relatives. When I return to the Eastern Palace, I'll definitely give your storage ring to your relative. Lu Ming moved his hand and kept Zhuang Hong's storage ring. He then checked the storage rings of the 2 corpse guards. The 2 corpse guards, one at the level 3 Martial King Realm and the other at the level 4 Lower Tier King Realm, had a lot of wealth in their storage rings. There were 5 to 6 secret manuals, one of which was specifically on how to refine corpses. Lu Ming casually flipped through it and put it away. What Lu Ming valued the most were the top-grade spiritual crystals. The 2 storage rings added up to a total of 180,000 pieces. This was already considered quite a lot. As for the ultimacy crystals, there was not a single one. Lu Ming was a little disappointed. After packing up, Lu Ming waved his hand and a total of 20,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals floated in the air. Lu Ming wanted to continue to improve his cultivation. His cultivation base was still too weak. With Lu Ming's current combat strength, he could definitely crush anyone in the Cloud Emperor mountain range. No one could withstand one move from him. However, that was only in the Cloud Emperor mountain range. In a bigger stage, such as the entire Tianqian region, it was not enough. For example, if Lu Ming had the cultivation of a lower-tier king, Zhuang Hong and the rest would not have died and they would not have been nearly annihilated. Strength was supreme. Moreover, the Heavenly Profound region was only a small region among the many territories under the control of the entire Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. The Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace was only one of the 4 strongest forces in the Eastern Barren Territory. The Divine Wilderness continent was divided into Central Continent, Eastern Wilderness, Southern Nether, Western Desert and Northern Plains. The Eastern Barren Territory was just one of the 5 vast regions of the Divine Wilderness continent. Lu Ming's current location could only be said to be a corner of the Divine Wilderness continent. Bang! 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 The 20,000 pieces of supreme-grade spirit crystals exploded one after another. The 9 dragon bloodline opened its mouth and sucked in a huge amount of heaven and earth spiritual qi. Then, it began to refine them crazily. Chapter 508. 508 Chapter 508 Framed. Lu Ming's cultivation level began to increase rapidly. When one reached Lever 2 Martial King Realm, the amount of spiritual crystals needed to improve one's cultivation would also increase greatly. Lu Ming's cultivation had only advanced from the early stage of the second level of the martial king realm to the middle stage after refining 50,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals. 50,000 yuan. When he was at level 1 martial king realm, he only needed 30,000 spiritual crystals to advance one level. When he reached level 2 martial king realm, he needed 50,000 spiritual crystals. Lu Ming did not stop. He kept taking out top-grade spirit crystals. Upgrade, upgrade, crazy upgrade. In less than a day, Lu Ming had refined all 180,000 pieces of spiritual crystals. His cultivation had also risen to the peak of the second level of the martial king realm. If he wanted to break through to the third level of the martial king realm, he would need more resources. The next moment, Lu Ming left the supreme shrine and looked to the west. Tianxian Sub-Palace, Sheng family, I, Lu Ming, am here. Buzz. With a flash of light, Lu Ming turned into a ray of light and rushed toward Tianxian Sub-Palace. Not long after, he passed by the place where he was ambushed by the Heavenly Corpse sect. At this moment, other than some blood on the ground, there was no other trace. The corpses of the Detian divine guards must have been taken away by the Heavenly Corpse sect. Lu Ming stopped for a moment, then turned into a ray of light and continued to Tianxian Sub-Palace. Since Lu Ming was traveling alone, his speed was much faster. He took 7 days to arrive at the half-month journey that he had previously scheduled. In front of them, an ancient city appeared. The city was black in color and there were marks left by swords, spears, and sabers on it. It was filled with the aura of time, as if it had crossed time and space from ancient times. The city was not large, and it was much smaller than the Myriad Star City. However, the reputation of this city was much stronger than that of the Myriad Star City. This was because this city was called Tianxian City. This Tianxian City was the Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace's branch palace in the Tianxian region. It was said that Tianxian City had existed for countless years. It had been preserved from the ancient era for over 1 million years. This city had been built by human powerhouses in ancient times. The entire city was built on a super-large spirit eye and a Tao eye. The spiritual eye could provide endless spiritual qi. Therefore, the spirit qi in Tianxian City was the densest in the Tianxian region. The Tao eye contained the Tao of heaven and earth. It was said that anyone who cultivated in Tianxian City would be able to comprehend force and intent much faster than anywhere else. Having grown up in Tianxian City, it could be said that he was blessed by the heavens. Hence, there was not a single ordinary person in Tianxian City. There were only people from the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. If people outside the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace wanted to enter, they would have to pay a huge price. Within 1,000 miles of Tianxian City, there were 8 huge satellite cities. They surrounded Tianxian City like stars surrounding the moon, providing Tianxian City with an endless stream of resources. Lu Ming looked around for a while before he flew toward Tianxian City. When Lu Ming was within 10 miles of Tianxian City, he suddenly felt a strong pressure on his body. Lu Ming could not help but land. As expected, there's an inscription formation in Tianxian City that restricts one's flight. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. He was well aware of this. The entire Tianxian City had been engraved with a powerful inscription formation by the experts of the ancient era. It was so strong that it was difficult for outsiders to break through. At the same time, there was also a flight-prohibiting formation. Even a martial king would find it difficult to fly, let alone a martial grandmaster. Lu Ming had heard that one had to be at least a peak-tier king to fly in Tianxian City. Lu Ming walked toward Tianxian City. The gate of Tianxian City opened, and people came in and out occasionally. There was a group of soldiers standing guard at the gate. Each soldier exuded a powerful aura. So strong. There are 15 of them, and 5 of them are lower-tier king tiers. The other 10 are all lever 3 martial kings. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat when he saw a group of soldiers at the city gate. This was only a group of soldiers guarding the gate, yet they were already so terrifying. He really didn't know how many powerhouses were entrenched in Tianxian City. There was no doubt that there were as many experts as there were clouds in the sky. 8/10 of the experts from the Empyrean Heavenly Divine Palace in the entire Tianxian region were here. Lu Ming strode toward the city gate. Stop, who are you? Only disciples of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace can enter this place. If you are not a member of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, you better leave as soon as possible. If not, I will kill you without mercy. A soldier in iron armor stared at Lu Ming. His gaze was like two sharp swords, piercing Lu Ming. I am Lu Ming, a Ditian Divine Guard of the Eastern Palace. This is my Divine Guard token. Lu Ming took out his Divine Guard token and handed it to the armored soldier. The Ditian Divine Guards from the Eastern Palace? The armored soldier was a little confused. He took the token and scanned it with his mind. Then, his eyes calmed down. It's really the Ditian Divine Guards from the Eastern Palace, and it's even the newest one. Could it be that you've been sent from the East as reinforcements? But why are you here alone? The armored soldier mumbled in confusion as he returned the token to Lu Ming. Can I enter the city now? Lu Ming asked. Since they're Ditian Divine Guards, they're naturally allowed to enter the city. The armored soldier said with a smile. Lu Ming was about to enter the city when an inharmonious voice was heard. Little bastard, is that you? You're not dead yet. A gloomy voice called out. Lu Ming was stunned and looked at the city gate. A few figures walked out from the city gate. One of them was staring at Lu Ming with a dark expression. Holy sky! Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He did not expect to encounter the holy sky as soon as he arrived. There were two other young men beside the holy sky, but Lu Ming had never seen them before. Sheng Kong, is he the guy in the east you were talking about? A tall young man looked at Lu Ming coldly. That's right, it's him. Killing intent flashed in Sheng Kong's eyes. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to be so lucky. Sheng Kong, what do you mean? Could it be that you knew I would be in danger? Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he said. Could it be that the Sheng family had really informed the Heavenly Corpse sect and betrayed them? Hey, what's so strange about that? We received news 2 days ago that the first batch of reinforcements sent by the Eastern Palace was ambushed by the Heavenly Corpse sect on the way. They were completely annihilated, and none of them managed to escape. You are among the first batch of people, right? Sheng Kong said with a cold smile. Not bad. Lu Ming said. How dare you, Lu Ming? How dare you betray the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, collude with the Heavenly Corpse sect, and cause the death of dozens of Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard? You deserve to die. Today, I'll cripple you as a warning to the others. Sheng Kong suddenly shouted. Sheng Kong, what nonsense are you talking about? Lu Ming's expression was calm as he said coldly. Nonsense. Lu Ming, how did the Heavenly Corpse sect know about your whereabouts? If someone hadn't linked up with the Heavenly Corpse sect, how could this have happened? Furthermore, the first batch of King Tiers had been completely annihilated, and there were even 3 lower-tier King Tiers among them. You're not a traitor. Who else could you be? Go. Sheng Kong shouted, looking righteous. Chapter 509. 509 Free Falling. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Lu Ming burst out laughing. Lu Ming, what are you laughing at? Sheng Kong shouted. Sheng Kong, I'm laughing at you. Is there something wrong with your head? Do you think I'm a traitor just because I'm alive? What kind of warped logic was this? Do you want us all to die in battle before you'll feel good? I now suspect that you are the traitor who colluded with the Heavenly Corpse sect and tried to harm us. Lu Ming shouted. You're making irresponsible remarks and slandering me. Sheng Kong roared. At this moment, there were some people at the city gate who were attracted by the two's voices and curiously watched. The soldiers guarding the gate had obviously recognized the identity of Sheng Kong and the others, but they did not interfere. Slander. If I remember correctly, you were beaten up by me in the Eastern Palace, and then you returned to the Central region. Not long after that, the news spread to the Eastern region, and you specifically asked me to come to the Central region to help. I now suspect that this was all a trap set by your Sheng family. You leaked the news to the Heavenly Corpse sect with the purpose of killing me, right? Die. Lu Ming shouted. His aura was like a dragon as he closed in on Holy Sky. You're slandering me. Holy Sky was stunned by Lu Ming's aura and was almost speechless. How dare you slander the Sheng family? You're looking for death. Sheng Kong, get out of the way. Let me cripple him. The tall young man stepped forward and looked at Lu Ming coldly. His eyes were like lightning. A powerful aura exuded from the tall young man's body. It was terrifying. The peak of the third level of the Martial King realm. This tall young man's cultivation had already reached the peak of the third level of the Martial King realm. Moreover, he was not an ordinary peak of the third level of the Martial King realm. He was definitely a genius among the Martial Kings. Who's that kid? I've never seen him before. How dare he offend the Sheng family? I just faintly heard that they seemed to be coming from the Eastern Palace. What? How dare the people of the Eastern Palace offend the people of the Sheng family? They are simply too audacious and are courting death. I heard that kid say that Sheng Kong suffered a loss at his hands in the Eastern Palace a while ago. I don't think that kid is easy to deal with. Not a good person. So what if he defeated Sheng Kong? Sheng Kong is just one of the many direct descendants of the Sheng family. Sheng Feng is much stronger than him. On the side, the onlookers were whispering to each other. Brat, are you going to kneel down and cripple yourself, or do you want me to do it? If I do, you're going to suffer. Sheng Feng was tall, half a head taller than Lu Ming. He looked down at Lu Ming with a cold and arrogant expression. Lu Ming pursed his lips. The people of the Sheng family were probably used to being overlords in the Tianqian region. Every one of them had the same conduct. I advise you to get lost. You probably don't know how badly I beat up Sheng Kong in the east. Be careful that you don't end up like him. Lu Ming glanced at Sheng Feng indifferently and said, Arrogant. You're looking for death. Sheng Feng shouted. Bang! The holy wind took a step forward like a giant beast, and the earth rumbled. Then, he struck out with his palm. Kneel down. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth gathered and formed a palm print, which slammed down on Lu Ming's head. Even an ordinary peak lever 3 Martial King realm expert would not dare to take this attack head-on. Buzz! A light flashed in Lu Ming's hands and a long spear was formed. He then pulled it out. Boom! The spear struck the palm print, and the palm print instantly collapsed. You're the one kneeling. Lu Ming took a step forward. The long spear in his hand grew to tens of meters long and as thick as a water tank. He smashed it down on the holy wind's head. Sheng Feng's expression changed. Clearly, he did not expect Lu Ming to be able to destroy his palm print so easily. You have some ability, but this is not enough in front of me. Boom! Sheng Feng coldly snorted. A 10-meter tall bear appeared above his head. This bear was covered in scales, and a fierce aura filled the air. At the same time, 6 Silivera chakras on the bear's body were shining. The next moment, the giant bear rushed into Sheng Feng's body, making his burly body swell up again. Earth overturning palm, the holy wind leaped high into the air and slammed its palm down on Lu Ming. True Dragon Strike. Lu Ming thrust his spear upwards and a 3-colored true dragon flew out with an imposing aura. Now, Lu Ming's will of wind had already condensed into an intent rune, which made the power of the 3 absolutes of the dragon god even stronger. Boom! The 3-colored true dragon broke through the holy wind's attack in one fell swoop, and the remaining power continued to bombard the holy wind. Sheng Feng screamed. His body was sent flying like a cannonball. He flew up to 100 meters in the air and then free fell under the effect of the no-fly formation. Catch me quickly, Sheng Feng was screaming in the air. Sheng Kong and another young man wanted to catch the holy wind. However, Lu Ming held his long spear horizontally and blocked the two of them. Get lost! The other young man shouted, but he did not dare to make a move. His cultivation was only at the early stage of the third level of the Martial King realm, far inferior to Sheng Feng's. It was obvious that he was no match for Lu Ming. As for Sheng Kong, his face was already pale, and his face was filled with disbelief. Lu Ming had become stronger again. A few months ago, he was definitely not this strong when he was in the Eastern Palace. Even the holy wind, which had reached the peak of the third level of the martial king realm, could not fight back against Lu Ming. How did this happen? Bang! With this slight delay, holy wind directly hit the ground. The ground at the city entrance was the same as the city walls of Tianqian City. They were both left behind from the ancient era and were extremely hard, a few hundred times harder than steel. Shengfeng's face hit the ground heavily, making a sound that made one's teeth ache. Blood splattered everywhere, and everyone could even see 7 or 8 teeth in the blood. Ah, little bastard, I'm going to kill you. Shengfeng struggled to get up and shouted frantically. He was a peak lever 3 martial king realm genius, but he had been seriously injured from the fall. This was a great humiliation. From now on, no matter how glorious his achievements were, this would be a stain on his body. He would become a laughing stock that would never be washed away. The anger in his heart could burn the 9 heavens. But what welcomed him was a long spear. Bang! A long spear directly hit one side of his face. His body flew out directly, and the other side of his face heavily smashed onto the floor. Blood spurted out and teeth flew everywhere. Shengfeng was dumbfounded, completely dumbfounded, and so were the others. Lu Ming was really ruthless. He had not even finished his sentence and he had already taken action. This time, Shengfeng was twitching on the ground. He couldn't get up at all. Sheng Kong and the other young man from the Sheng family broke out in a cold sweat. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and sucked Shengfeng's storage ring into his hand, putting it away without any hesitation. Now, he was extremely lacking in resources. How could he miss such a good opportunity? I'll let you go if each of you hands over 50,000 top-grade spiritual crystals. Hurry up and take the spiritual crystals. Lu Ming looked at Holy Sky and the other young man and shouted coldly. Chapter 510. 510 battling a lower-tier king tier. His voice spread and the surrounding onlookers were stunned. They looked at Lu Ming in shock. Where did this guy come from? How audacious. Not only did he seriously injure Shengfeng and take his storage ring, but he also asked Sheng Kong and the other 2 to pay 50,000 spiritual crystals each. This was a blatant robbery. The crowd was already in a mess. The 2 people from Sacred Sky were even more dumbfounded. They stared at Lu Ming in disbelief. What did you just say? What did you just say? The other young man from the Sheng family thought he had heard wrong. There was actually someone who dared to treat them this way in Tianqian City. Even the Mu family's hero didn't dare to. I don't want to repeat myself. Give me 50,000 spiritual crystals in 3 breaths. 1. Lu Ming started to count directly. Fuck you, don't go too far. This is Tianqian City, not the Eastern Palace. You're courting death. No. Sheng Kong shouted crazily. 2. Lu Ming did not stop and started to count to 2. Detestable. Damn it, you guys, hurry up and take down this kid. Sheng Kong shouted at the armored soldiers. However, the armored soldiers were unmoved. They were under the jurisdiction of the Tianqian subpalace and were only responsible for guarding the city gates. As for the personal grudges of the other Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards, they would not interfere. 3. At this moment, Lu Ming's cold voice was heard. Retreat. Sheng Kong and the other young man from the Sheng family retreated as fast as lightning. They were fast, but Lu Ming was faster. Buzz. The long spear in Lu Ming's hands was pulled out. Bang! Bang! The spear's shaft directly smacked the faces of the 2. The 2 of them screamed and flew far away. Now, it's not a problem of 50,000 spiritual crystals. Lu Ming strode toward the 2 of them. Lu Ming, you deserve to die. You deserve to die. Ah! Sheng Kong screamed hysterically. He felt as if half of his face did not belong to him. How dare you? Who dares to hit my Sheng family? You're courting death. At this moment, a loud shout was heard from the city gate. Then, a figure dashed out like a gust of wind. Whoosh! Before he could reach Lu Ming, a water sword formed by water currents was aimed at the area between Lu Ming's eyebrows. The sword of flowing water contained a powerful water concept. Lu Ming's expression changed. He felt a strong sense of threat from this sword. In an instant, the true energy in his body burst out madly. His will gathered and he thrust the spear forward. Bang! A crisp sound was heard. Lu Ming realized that the sword of flowing water was harder than an ordinary fourth-level spiritual weapon. At the same time, a vast energy burst out. Lu Ming's body shook and he could not help but retreat. At that moment, a figure appeared beside the two of them. This was a young man in a blue robe. He looked to be around 25 or 26 years old and was very handsome. However, there was a hint of cold arrogance between his brows. Sacred River, it's the Sacred River. As soon as this young man appeared, a series of exclamations came from the side. I didn't expect the Sacred River to be so close. That brat's days are over. The Sacred River has already become a lower tier king tier a year ago, but then again, this brat is really bold. He even dared to beat up the hero of the Sheng family. I heard that he's from the east, but he probably hasn't heard of the Sheng family's reputation. Some people shook their heads and felt that Lu Ming was in grave danger. Brother Jiang, you've come at the right time. This brat dared to hit us and insult our Sheng family. He's unforgivable. Brother Jiang, you must cripple him for me. When Sheng Kong saw the Sacred River, he was overjoyed and shouted excitedly. But what responded to him was a kick from Sheng Jiang. Sheng Jiang's kick landed on Sheng Kong's face, stunning him. You're just a piece of trash. You've been beaten so badly by a kid from the east. You've really embarrassed the Sheng family. Sheng Jiang cast a cold glance at Sheng Kong, then turned to Lu Ming. However, no matter how useless a member of the Sheng family is, he's not someone an outsider can beat. Kid, since you've made a move, you'll have to bear the consequences. His eyes were contemptuous and he had a haughty expression. Lu Ming pursed his lips and sneered, "Oh? So, you're saying that I can't fight back when they attack me? Is there such a logic in the world? Of course you can fight back, but if you do, you'll have to pay a corresponding or even more heavy price. Do you still need me to do it myself?" Sheng Jiang said indifferently. "Nonsense, if you want to attack, then attack." Lu Ming shouted coldly. Sheng Jiang's face darkened, and he said coldly, "Stubborn. Don't think that you can fight me just because you can block one of my attacks. How naive. Now, I'll show you the difference between a lower tier king tier and a lower tier king tier." As he spoke, a powerful aura burst out of Sheng Jiang's body. The aura of the peak lever 4 martial king realm, and the initial success of the first-level water concept. Then, Holy River waved his hand, and a large amount of water suddenly condensed in the sky. The streams of water were all transformed into water blades. Kill. With a wave of Sacred River's hand, at least 100 swords of water shot towards Lu Ming. The sword of flowing water pierced through the void, bringing with it a shocking sonic boom. Lu Ming's eyes were solemn. He clenched his fist in the air. Between heaven and earth, endless power of lightning gathered and formed lightning spears. Go. Lu Ming waved his hand and the spear of lightning flew out, clashing with the swords of water. Bang! 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 In the sky, there were more than 100 continuous thunderous sounds. This was the collision of intent realms. In the end, the sword of water and the spear of lightning disappeared together. The people watching the battle widened their eyes in shock. How was it possible that Lu Ming could block the attack of Sheng Jiang? Intent realm. This Lu Ming's thunder intent realm has already reached level 1 lower tier. The strength of his intent realm is not any weaker than a lower tier king's intent realm. Impressive, impressive. This way, he will not face any bottlenecks before he breaks through to the lower tier. I think he will reach the lower tier in less than 2 years. Once one's intent realm was reached, one only needed to accumulate energy to break through. However, for an ordinary person, even if they kept refining supreme-grade spirit crystals, it would take 1 or 2 years. This was already very fast. Kid, it turns out that your thunder mentality has already broken through to the first-level lower class. No wonder you're so arrogant. However, combat strength depends on a combination of various factors to form a powerful combat strength. You and I are still far from that. Bang! Sheng Jiang stepped forward. The true essence on his body was boiling like a real substance, dancing like blue flames. Slash. A middle lever 5 spiritual weapon sword appeared in Shengjiang's hand. His boundless true essence and water will merged as he slashed out. A crystal-clear blue sword gleam that was 100 meters long slashed at Lu Ming. True Dragon Strike. Lu Ming shouted and burst out with all his strength as he stabbed with his spear. Chapter 511. 511 Mulan's father's true identity. A 3-colored true dragon roared and clashed with Xinjiang's huge blue sword. Boom. Energy of various colors swept out in all directions. Not good. Retreat. Some of the spectators with weaker cultivation bases were so scared that they retreated. When the energy hit the ground, inscriptions flashed on the ground, but not a single mark was left. Break. Shengjiang roared, his aura growing stronger. The power of the blue sword light grew stronger. The 3-colored true dragon only managed to resist for a moment before it was split into 2 by the sword radiance. The sword radiance did not stop and continued to slash toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the long spear horizontally in front of him. Clang! The sword light struck the spear's shaft. Lu Ming felt a huge surge of energy surging towards him. His body trembled and he flew backward. After flying for more than 100 meters, Lu Ming's feet finally landed on the ground. Then, he took 7 steps back in a row. Every step he took caused the ground to rumble. Lower-tier king tears are indeed powerful. Lu Ming felt the blood in his body churning and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The difference between Lever 3 and Lever 4 Martial King Realm was huge. It was not just 1 level, but 2. Lu Ming's current cultivation was at the peak of the 2nd level of the Martial King Realm. With his combat strength, it would not be difficult for him to kill a peak of the 3rd level of the Martial King Realm. However, there was still a certain gap between him and a king of the lower tier of the 4th level. This wasn't something that could be made up for just by relying on one intent realm. However, he didn't know that Shengjiang was even more shocked. At the same time, a violent killing intent spread out. Lu Ming was only at the peak of the 2nd level of the Martial King Realm, but he had managed to block his attacks time and time again. This was simply unbelievable, and it made him feel embarrassed. This was the first time he had been repeatedly blocked by a low-tier king tier. Die! Die! Shengjiang roared, a sharp killing intent erupting from his body. His aura exploded as he slashed his sword at Lu Ming. This sword strike had huge waves roaring between heaven and earth. It combined with the sword momentum of the Holy River, making the attack of the Holy River reach its peak. This sword was much stronger than the previous one. Boom! A faint dragon's roar could be heard from within Lu Ming's body. He circulated his essential core to the maximum and at the same time, the power of his blood vessels fused with his body. He also used his full strength. Even if he couldn't win, he would fight to the end. Stop! At this moment, a loud shout could be heard as a white figure rapidly approached. Before he even arrived, a bright sword light had already slashed toward the sacred river. Its power was shocking. Who is it? Shengjiang's expression changed. He had no choice but to change the direction of his sword and attack the sword light. The 2 sword lights collided with a loud bang. The sword chi was overflowing. Shengjiang's figure could not help but sway and take 2 steps back. Buzz! A figure appeared in the field. He was dressed in a snow-white robe, snow-white pants, and snow-white boots. He was as pure as jade. It's him. Lu Ming's expression changed. He recognized him. Wasn't this person Mu Shuyuan? He had once kindly reminded Lu Ming. When did he come to the central section of the Tianxian sub-palace? Lu Ming had some doubts. Mu Shuyuan, it's you? When Shengjiang saw Mu Shuyuan, his eyes narrowed and he asked in surprise. Shengjiang, long time no see. How can you improve if you don't see your abilities? Mu Shuyuan smiled slightly. Chen-ph, Mu Shuyuan, didn't you go to the east to train? When did he come back? And why did you stop me? Shengjiang asked coldly. It's none of your business when I want to come back. Also, Lu Ming is my friend. Of course, I have to help. Mu Shuyuan said. This kid is your friend. So, you're going to interfere today? Shengjiang said with a gloomy expression. He was quite afraid of Mu Xiuyuan. The other party's cultivation was higher than his, and he was a genius disciple of the Mu family. In the Tianxian region, the Mu family's strength was something that even the Sheng family was wary of. The Mu clan would not give the Sheng clan any face. That's right, since I'm here today, you can't touch a single hair on his head. If you want to make a move, you can try, but don't blame me for being impolite, Mu Xiuyuan said with a smile. Good, very good. Mu Xiuyuan, you can protect him for now, but can you protect him forever? There's plenty of time later on, let's wait and see. Sheng Jiang laughed in anger, then turned around and left. Sheng Kong, Sheng Feng, and the others hurriedly followed him into the city and disappeared without a trace. This brat actually knows Mu Xiuyuan. He's really lucky to have dodged a calamity. If I'm lucky, I can only avoid it once. It's not easy to avoid offending the Sheng family. Based on my understanding of the Sheng family, they won't let it go so easily. That's right. I wonder what will happen to this kid in the end. In the surroundings, some people were discussing animatedly as they slowly dispersed. Lu Ming, are you all right? At this moment, Mu Xiuyuan looked at Lu Ming. Brother Mu, thank you for saving me. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. Haha, you're welcome. Since you're Eleanor's friend, you're my friend as well. It's just a small matter. There's no need to thank me. Mu Xiuyuan laughed heartily, very forthright. Little girl Eleanor? Lu Ming was stunned. Oh, Lu Ming, it seems that you still don't know? I'm Mu Lan's cousin. Mu Lan once told me to take care of you. I'm ashamed to say that I haven't been of much help to you, Mu Xiuyuan said with a smile. Lu Ming came to a sudden realization. Mu Xiuyuan was Mu Lan's cousin. No wonder he had been kind to Lu Ming from the beginning. May I know where senior sister Mu Lan is? I haven't even seen senior sister Mu Lan since I joined the Ditian Divine Guards. At this moment, Lu Ming had to seize the opportunity to ask. Yang Ellen had once told him that Mu Lan's father was an important figure in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. However, Lu Ming had not seen Mu Lan even after joining the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace for so long. Logically speaking, Mu Lan should have taken the initiative to look for him when she found out that he had joined the Ditian Divine Guards. Lu Ming, it's not easy to see Mu Lan, Mu Xiuyuan sighed. Why? Lu Ming asked hurriedly. Lu Ming, it seems that there are many things that you don't know yet. Now, I'll explain it to you. First of all, Mu Lan's father is the current family head of the Mu family and the current palace master of the Tianxian sub-palace. Mu Xiuyuan threw out a heavy piece of news. What? Senior sister Mu Lan's father is the palace master of the profound sky sub-palace? Lu Ming was shocked and extremely surprised. Yang Ellen had said that Mu Lan's father was an important figure in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. He didn't expect him to be the #1 figure in the Tianxian region's sub-palace, the palace master of the Tianxian sub-palace. This was indeed beyond Lu Ming's expectations. Then, Mu Xiuyuan began to talk about it in detail. Although the Mu family was known as one of the 2 major families in the Tianxian region, it had only risen to power 100 years ago. Its foundation was still incomparable to the Sheng family. If the Mu family wanted to continue to be strong and continue to be strong, they would have to rely on the strength of the Sheng family. How could he borrow it? A marriage alliance was the best way. Chapter 512. 512 The list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory. Mu Lan had been engaged to a hero of the Sheng family since she was young. However, Mu Lan did not seem to like this arrangement. In her opinion, this was only an exchange of benefits, even if the person she was engaged to was extremely outstanding. Therefore, Mu Lan had left the profound sky sub-palace a long time ago and ran to the mystical sword sect. However, some time ago, because of Lu Ming, she had sent a message to her father and agreed to return to the Empyrean Sky Divine Palace on the condition that she would get an invitation card from Lu Ming. Later on, the proud son of heaven of the Sheng family found out about this. That was why he sent people to the Eastern Palace, which led to the conflict between Lu Ming and the Sheng family. Lu Ming had a sudden realization after listening to it. Combining what Yang Lan had told him back then, he now understood everything. AI, senior sister Mulan, why is she doing this? You actually ran away for my invitation. Lu Ming sighed. Lu Ming, you don't have to blame yourself. Actually, Mulan knows that she can't hide. When the time comes, her father will definitely send someone to bring her back. In that case, why don't I take the initiative to get you an invitation? Mu Shuyuan said. However, Lu Ming still could not let it go. He frowned and said, "What do you want me to do? Only then can I help senior sister Mulan. It's very difficult to help her." Mu Shuyuan sighed. "Tell me, as long as it's within my power, I'll do my best." Lu Ming said. "It's simple. As long as you defeat the genius of the Sheng family that Mulan is engaged to, you'll prove that you're more talented than him. Then, things will naturally turn for the better," Mu Shuyuan said. "I just have to defeat the other party," Lu Ming said, his spirits lifted. "Lu Ming, it's very difficult to defeat your opponent. Do you know who he is? He's the once-in-a-century genius of the Sheng family, the genius of the Sheng family, Sheng Xingchen," Mu Shuyuan said. "Oh, how strong is he?" Lu Ming asked. Mu Shuyuan didn't answer, but muttered to himself for a moment, and then asked, "Lu Ming, do you know about the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory?" The list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory? Lu Ming was stunned. This was the first time he had heard of it. Mu Shuyuan's hand moved, and a thick book appeared. On it were 5 large words: the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory. The list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory was written by the Secret Chamber of Commerce, the #1 Chamber of Commerce in the continent. The top 1,000 talents of the younger generation under the age of 30 are listed here. This is the list of top 1,000 talents in the East continent. In the vast Eastern Barren Territory, there are countless regions, but only 1,000 heavens favorites are listed. You can imagine that each of them is a terrifying genius. The Holy Star is ranked 998th on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory. He's the only one in the Tianxian region who's ranked on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory. His cultivation must have reached the upper tier of the king's realm. Mu Shuyuan explained seriously. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He flipped to the last few pages of the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory and saw the name of the Holy Star. The cultivation level indicated on it was also at the upper tier of the king tier, but it did not state which martial king realm it was at. Is the list of top 1,000 talents of the Eastern Barren Territory accurate? The East continent is so big, and there are so many geniuses. Is it really possible to be ranked among them? Lu Ming was a little puzzled. Mu Shuyuan nodded and said, "The Tianji Chamber of Commerce is the #1 Chamber of Commerce on the continent. It's extremely powerful and has branches all over the continent. It's also the most well-informed. Although it can't be 100% accurate, it's close to the mark." The list of top 1,000 talents. Lu Ming nodded and muttered. "That's why it's too difficult to defeat the sacred constellation." Mu Shuyuan sighed. "I will definitely defeat him," Lu Ming muttered in his heart, but he did not say it out loud. Before he had the ability, he just had to keep it in his heart. If he said it out loud, he would be treated as a joke by others. "Forget it, let's not talk about this. Lu Ming, since you've just arrived at Tianxian City, I'll show you around. Tianxian City is very different from other places." Mu Shuyuan shook his head, as if he wanted to get rid of the troubles in his heart, and a smile appeared on his face. "All right." Lu Ming nodded. Then, Lu Ming and Mu Shuyuan headed toward Tianxian City. As soon as he entered Tianxian City, Lu Ming saw layers of houses. The houses were pitch black and built with a kind of black stone. They were filled with a primitive and ancient aura. Most of these houses had been preserved from the ancient times along with Tianxian City. Such dense spiritual qi of heaven and earth. And, is that the essence realm of heaven and earth? Lu Ming's expression changed and he looked shocked. The heaven and earth spiritual qi in Tianxian City was much denser than in the Eastern Palace. Moreover, The faint will of heaven and earth permeated the air, which surprised Lu Ming. Cultivating here would allow one to comprehend the essence realm of heaven and earth much faster than in the outside world. Mu Shuyuan smiled and said, Tianqian City is built on top of a supermassive eye of spirit qi and a Tao eye. It's filled with rich spirit qi of heaven and earth, as well as a strong will of heaven and earth. This is only the outer area of Tianqian City. The deeper you go, the richer and stronger the spirit qi and will of heaven and earth will be. Oh! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then, the two of them walked along the street toward the depths of Tianqian City. Along the way, Lu Ming's eyes swept around. There was not a single shop on both sides of the street. Lu Ming was secretly amazed. This was the first time Lu Ming saw no shops in the city. Mu Shuyuan seemed to have read Lu Ming's mind. He smiled and said, Tianqian City is different from other cities. Every inch of land in Tianqian City is worth its weight in gold. Every mansion and room is a sacred cultivation ground. Therefore, most of the Emperor Sky Divine Guards have to rent a house to live in Tianqian City. Rent an apartment. Lu Ming was very surprised. That's right, rent a house to live in. The entire Tianqian City is divided into 4 districts. The outermost ring is the first district. Generally, renting a house costs between 100,000 to 1 million lower spiritual crystals a day. Most of the houses here are rented and lived by martial arts grandmaster realm warriors. Go further in and enter the second area. The spiritual qi and the essence realm of heaven and earth are more concentrated, and the rent is also much higher. One needs to rent between 1 to 10 supreme spiritual crystals for 1 day. The rent for the third area is between 10 to 100 top-grade spiritual crystals for 1 day. Mu Shuyuan explained. Silk banner. Lu Ming gasped in shock. This price was too expensive, it was outrageously expensive. The Tao Enlightenment Palace in the Eastern Sub-Palace only cost 100 supreme spiritual crystals for a day of cultivation. However, the most expensive price on the third floor was 100 supreme spiritual crystals for a day. What about the fourth region? Lu Ming asked. If the third region was already so terrifying, how many spiritual crystals would the fourth region require? Mu Shuyuan shook his head and said, the fourth region is usually not rented out. It's occupied by some of the higher-ups of the Mu clan and the Sheng clan, as well as some of the elite disciples. In addition, some of the higher-ups of the Profound Sky Sub-Palace also live there. If ordinary Emperor Sky Divine Guards want to rent the fourth region, not only will the rent be terrifying, but they will also have to meet special conditions. Chapter 513. 513 Every inch of land is worth its weight in gold. In addition, you can also buy a house or a mansion in Tianqian City. However, the price is ridiculously high. Therefore, there's a saying in Tianqian City. If anyone can get a house, they'll become rich overnight, and they'll have less to work for decades. Mu Shuyuan said. Lu Ming was amazed. Indeed, every inch of land in Tianqian City was worth its weight in gold. If they could be allocated a house, they would be rich even if they rented it to others. However, it's very difficult for ordinary Ditian Divine Guards to be allocated a room unless they have made great contributions. Only the Mu clan and the Sheng clan will have some people assigned to a room. Mu Shuyuan continued. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He could only be envious. No wonder there were so many geniuses and experts in the Sheng family. One could imagine how strong the geniuses of the Sheng family would be if they cultivated in such an environment every day. On the other hand, the other Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards had to spend a large number of spirit crystals to rent a place for them to stay and cultivate. This was the difference between them. The two of them chatted as they walked. Soon, the two of them arrived at the second area. Indeed, the heaven and earth spiritual qi and intent realm here were much richer than the first area. Lu Ming, which area do you want to rent a house in? Mu Shuyuan asked. Let's go to the third area, Lu Ming said. He didn't have many spiritual crystals left, but didn't he just get a storage ring from Shengfeng? He believed that there would be a lot of top-grade spiritual crystals in it, which would be a good use. Let's go. Soon, the two of them arrived at the third area. Here, The spiritual chi and the essence realm of heaven and earth had reached an astonishing level. It would cost at least 10 supreme spiritual crystals for a day, and the most expensive one would cost 100 supreme spiritual crystals. Lu Ming looked around for a while and stopped in front of a mansion. "Let's go to this one," Lu Ming said. Mu Shuyuan nodded and said, "Lu Ming, I won't keep you company then. By the way, the Detian divine guards sent by the 4 branches have only been here for half a month. They can rest well and don't have to go out to fight the Heavenly Corpse sect. However, they'll have to set off to fight the Heavenly Corpse sect in half a month's time. There are usually 2 ways. One is that the mission hall will issue some missions related to killing the Heavenly Corpse sect, and there will be a reward for completing them. The second way is that if someone doesn't accept any missions, they will be arranged to go to the battlefield and participate in the war against the Heavenly Corpse sect. Many thanks, Brother Mu. Lu Ming cupped his fists. All right then, I'll take my leave. Mu Shuyuan smiled, then strode into the depths of Tianqian City. Mu Shuyuan was a direct descendant of the Mu family, and his cultivation level was unfathomable. Naturally, he lived in the deepest part, the 4th district. After Mu Shuyuan left, Lu Ming walked toward the mansion at the side. "This little brother, are you looking to rent a house?" There was a middle-aged man at the entrance of the mansion. He smiled when he saw Lu Ming entering. "That's right. I'm here to rent a house. How many crystals a day?" Lu Ming asked. 50 top-grade spiritual crystals a day. "How long do you want to rent it for?" he asked. The middle-aged man said, "I'll rent it for 15 days. Lu Ming took out 750 pieces of top-grade spirit crystals and handed them to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man took it, and the smile on his face grew even wider. He took out a jade token and said, "Little brother, this is your key. Your room is room 19, all right." Lu Ming took the jade token and walked into the mansion. There were rooms in the mansion, and each room had a room number written on it. Number 19. Lu Ming found room number 19 very quickly. These rooms were made of stone. Even the door was made of stone. There was a pit on the stone door. Lu Ming placed the jade card in the pit. Catcha. The stone door opened automatically and Lu Ming walked in. The room was very simple, with only a bed and a table. Lu Ming closed the door and sat cross-legged on the bed. With a single thought, Lu Ming seemed to have become one with heaven and earth, quietly comprehending the concept of heaven and earth. The essence realm of the heaven and earth here is really clear. Lu Ming was rather shocked. He felt that even though this place was still lacking compared to the Tao Enlightenment Palace, it was still much, much stronger than the outside world. This area was only worth 50 top-grade spirit crystals a day. Even if the areas worth 100 top-grade spirit crystals were not as good as the Tao Enlightenment Palace, they were not far from it. Then what was the 4th region like? No wonder the Sheng family had such resources. No wonder they had been able to dominate the Tianqian region for countless years. Lu Ming took out the Path Understanding Ancient Tree to help him comprehend the essence realm of heaven and earth at a faster speed. His main focus now was to comprehend the essence realm of fire. In the 4th area, in an elegant courtyard, more than a dozen young experts of the Sheng family were gathered. The Holy Wind, Holy Sky, and Holy River were all inside. At this moment, Sheng Feng, Sheng Kong, and another young man were standing there with red faces. "The few of you are really useless. You were actually beaten up by a country bumpkin from the east. You've really embarrassed the Sheng family. This time, if it wasn't for Sheng Jiang's arrival, the Sheng family would have lost all its face." A young man wearing a purple robe and a purple jade ring on his finger said coldly. The purple-robed young man obviously had a high status among the dozens of young men. Sheng Feng, Sheng Kong, and the others looked terrible, but they did not dare to refute. This time, if it wasn't for Mu Xiuyuan's interference, I would have already crippled that brat and taken him down. Sheng Jiang said coldly. "Mph, this time, it's not your fault. Mu Xiuyuan will be taught a lesson sooner or later. The most important thing now is to take down that kid called Lu Ming. This is not only about the Sheng family's face, but also the intention of the young master of constellation." The purple-robed youth said. As soon as the purple-robed young man mentioned the holy star, the other young men's expressions immediately changed, and they became unusually serious. It was as if they were in awe of the sacred stars. But that kid must have rented a house in Tianqian City. Tianqian City is so big with so many houses. It's hard to find him. Another youth said. That's simple. That Lu Ming came from the east to provide reinforcements. He can rest for half a month at most. Half a month later, he'll definitely appear. By then, we'll either accept missions or force him to take on missions. As long as we send someone to keep an eye on the mission hall, we'll know when he appears. The purple-robed youth said confidently. Bro Yu is so wise. The other young men flattered. The purple-robed young man was called Sheng Yu. He smiled proudly and said, some time ago, the young master of Star Palace had a fortuitous encounter and is now cultivating in seclusion. When the young master of Star Palace comes out of his seclusion, he will definitely be stronger. What we need to do is to take down Lu Ming before the young master of Star Palace comes out of his seclusion. That way, the young master of Star Palace will definitely value us more. Yes, that's for sure. Lu Ming is dead for sure. The others all agreed. Of course, Lu Ming did not know any of this. He was focused on cultivating. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. He didn't know why, but he felt that he had cultivated the concept of fire to its limit, yet he still couldn't condense an intent rune. Chapter 514. 514 The Plane Mission. He felt that there was a force that was preventing him from forming the fire concept rune. This power actually came from the thunder and wind concept runes. These two types of concept runes were resisting, preventing Lu Ming from condensing the fire concept runes. In fact, Lu Ming had already noticed this situation when he was condensing the wind concept rune. At that time, the thunder concept rune had also produced a kind of obstruction, preventing Lu Ming from condensing the wind concept rune. However, it was only a single type of thunder concept rune and the obstruction was not very strong. Lu Ming managed to break through it in one move. However, the obstruction created by the two types of concept runes was too strong. Lu Ming could not break through it in a short time. It was no wonder that others would say that cultivating several concepts at the same time would only get harder and harder later on, and there would be almost no achievements. Not only would it distract him, but it would also be difficult to break through. Lu Ming's 3 concepts had been successfully integrated, but it had produced such a strong obstruction. If the integration had not been successful, the obstruction would be even stronger. I'm afraid it'll take a long time to polish it if I want to condense a fire concept rune in one go. I'm afraid it won't be possible without 3 to 5 years. At the thought of this, Lu Ming shook his head. 3 to 5 years. There was too much time. Where would he find the time to waste? If this option didn't work, then he could only take the second option. He used external forces to force his way through. And among external forces, intent crystals were undoubtedly the most effective. And NBSB, however, normal intent crystals probably wouldn't have much of an effect. And NBSB, they needed middle-grade intent crystals to succeed in one go. But middle-grade intent crystals? At the thought of this, Lu Ming smiled bitterly. And NBSB, intent crystals were divided into low-grade, medium-grade, high-grade, and top-grade. Lu Ming had come into contact with low-grade profound meaning crystals in the past. The lowest price in the market was 1 billion lower spiritual crystals, which was 1,000 supreme spiritual crystals. And NBSB, but middle-grade intent crystals were 1,000 times more expensive than low-grade intent crystals. Yes, 1,000 times. And NBSB, a middle-grade intent crystal would cost at least 1 million supreme-grade spirit crystals, which was extremely terrifying. The main thing was that middle-grade intent crystals were too rare and could only be found by luck. However, the effects of middle-grade profound meaning crystals were still worlds apart from low-grade profound meaning crystals. They were much stronger. Therefore, Lu Ming could only smile bitterly. He only had 60,000 supreme spiritual crystals from Shengjiang. 60,000 pieces of spiritual crystals were not even enough for Lu Ming to break through to the 3rd level of the Martial King realm. He was poor. Lu Ming felt that he was too poor. He did not have enough crystals. Also, the demon-subduing spear was not in good use anymore. Lu Ming wanted to find a king-level alchemist to refine a long spear. It was not cheap to find a king-level alchemist to make a spear. All of this required spiritual crystals. I'll cultivate for a few more days and see if there are any missions. Lu Ming immediately continued cultivating. This time, his main focus was to comprehend the thunder concept. 10 days passed quickly. His thunder mentality had progressed at lightning speed and was already at the middle stage of level 1 lower class. At this time, Lu Ming had been staying here for 15 days and the date for the house was up. Lu Ming returned the jade card and walked out of the mansion. He then headed to the mission hall. The mission palace hall was not in the 3rd region, but the 2nd region. In Tianxian City, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold, the mission hall was not very big. People were coming and going in the mission hall. There were young ones and old ones. There were people of all kinds of colors, but each and every one of them had an extremely strong aura. They were all martial kings, and every one of them was a 2nd-grade Emperor Heaven Divine Guard. There were even 3rd-grade Emperor Heaven Divine Guards occasionally. Rank 3 Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards were usually lower-tier king tiers. Lu Ming walked into the missions hall and looked around. What? Lu Ming suddenly realized that there were the most people under a stone tablet that was engraved with inscriptions. Most of them were young people. Lu Ming was a little curious and walked over. There were lines of words on the stone tablet. These words were all introductions to a mission. Lu Ming also started to read it. This mission is establish. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. This mission was very suitable for Lu Ming. The Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace had discovered a brand new dimension not long ago. It had never been discovered before, and no one had ever mined it. The experts of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace found the weakest part of the plane space and broke it down, creating an entrance. However, he later found out that the natural laws of this plane had the inscription of time, and warriors above the age of 30 couldn't enter at all. Only warriors over the age of 30 seemed to conform to the laws of that plane and could enter. Later on, there were warriors below the age of 30 who entered. They discovered that this dimension was extremely vast and boundless. Not only were there native inhabitants of this dimension, but there were also a large number of extremely precious materials. For example, intent crystals. Yes, this dimension contained dozens or even hundreds of times more intent crystals than the outside world. It was normal for a dimension that had never been excavated to have a large number of intent crystals. Intent crystals contained innate intent. For a time, the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace sent out a large number of cultivators below the age of 30 to this dimension to mine for power Upanishad crystals and other precious materials. The Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace took a portion of the profits. However, at this time, they discovered that the Heavenly Corpse sect had also discovered this dimension. They had also opened up an entrance and sent a large number of corpse guards under the age of 30 into this dimension. Naturally, when the two forces met, a fierce battle would inevitably break out, and both sides would suffer heavy casualties. In the next few months, the two sides carried out a brutal hunt in this dimension. A few months later, the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace had already issued out missions. Any Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard under the age of 30 could take on the mission to enter this dimension and hunt the corpse guards of the Heavenly Corpse sect. The Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace would not take any of the materials that he had excavated and would only buy them at a high price. Furthermore, killing the corpse guards of the Heavenly Corpse sect would also give them generous rewards. The reward for killing a Lever 1 Martial King Realm Corpse Guard was 2,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals. The reward for killing a Lever 2 Martial King Realm Corpse Guard was 5,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals. The reward for killing a Lever 3 Martial King Realm Corpse Guard was 10,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals. The reward for killing a Lever 4 Martial King Realm Corpse Guard was 20,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals. The reward for killing a Lever 5 Martial King Realm Corpse Guard was as high as 50,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals. The reward was very generous and Lu Ming was very tempted. Not only did this mission have a reward, but it also had intent crystals. However, this mission was also extremely dangerous. The Empyrean Sky Divine Guards would be rewarded for killing corpse guards, and the Heavenly Corpse Sect would also issue missions to corpse guards. Killing Empyrean Sky Divine Guards would also give generous rewards. Other than that, they also had to be wary of the natives of that dimension. The natives of that dimension were called the Scaled Demon Race, and it was extremely dangerous. This is the mission. Lu Ming walked directly to the counter. I want to take on a mission from the demonic scales dimension, Lu Ming said to an old man at the counter. The demonic scales dimension was the name of that dimension. Chapter 515. 515 Demonic Scales Plane, forming a party. Sure, I'll help you register. How many soul-sealing crystals do you need? The old man asked. The soul-sealing crystal could seal the soul. As long as he killed the Heavenly Corpse Sect's cultivators and sealed their souls in the soul-sealing crystal, he could bring them back to the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Then, he would naturally know how many Heavenly Corpse Sect corpse guards he had killed. Besides, some inscription masters could also use the souls of warriors to refine some strange things. Normally, it was not allowed to kill other cultivators and seal their souls for inscribing. However, the Heavenly Corpse Sect was the enemy of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and they cultivated evil techniques, so there was naturally no problem. I'll buy 100 pieces of soul-sealing crystal. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and said, 100 yuan? Little guy, you have a big appetite. The old man was slightly taken aback. He cast a few more glances at Lu Ming in surprise. I'm just buying a few more pieces in case I need them. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Well, okay. 10 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals for 1 soul-sealing crystal. 100 pieces. That's 1,000 top-grade spiritual crystals in total. As the old man spoke, he took out a box that contained a dark red crystal with sharp edges. This was the soul-sealing crystal. Lu Ming also took out 1,000 pieces of top-grade spirit crystals and handed them to the old man. He then kept the soul-sealing crystal and walked out. After a while, Lu Ming left Tianxian City and turned into a bolt of lightning, heading north. The entrance to the demonic scales dimension was 5 million miles north of Tianxian City. Even with Lu Ming's speed, he would need a few days. In Tianxian City, in Shengyu's courtyard, someone was reporting the news to him. Lu Ming has already received a mission from the missions hall. A young man reported to Shengyu. Sheng Jiang and a few other experts were also at the side. Just as I expected, Lu Ming has indeed accepted the mission from the demonic scales dimension. Now, the news has spread. Also, we should set off. Shengyu said, the killing intent in his eyes flickering. It's finally here. Lu Ming, let's see who can save you this time. Not only will I kill you, but I'll also destroy your reputation. On the side, Sheng Kong gritted his teeth. Among the people of the Sheng family, he was the one who hated Lu Ming the most. He had already been abused by Lu Ming twice. In addition, Sheng Feng was in a similar situation. All his belongings had been taken away by Lu Ming. How could he not hate Lu Ming? Lu Ming, how dare you snatch my storage ring? I'll make you pay 10 times the price. Sheng Feng roared in his heart. 3 days later, Lu Ming had crossed a distance of 5 million miles and appeared in a small city. The entrance to the demonic scales plane was in this small city. The city was clearly newly built for the entrance to the demonic scales plane. It had only been a few months. Lu Ming walked into the small city and headed to a huge palace in the center of the city. The entrance of the palace was guarded by the experts of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Not only the entrance, but also some of the stone houses in the surroundings were guarded by some experts to prevent the Heavenly Corpse Sect from launching a sneak attack. Halt! If you want to enter the demonic scales dimension, verify your identity first. At the door, a burly man blocked Lu Ming's way. Lu Ming took out the Divine Guard token and handed it to the burly man. After the burly man checked it, he nodded and said, "You can go in now." Lu Ming kept the Divine Guard token and walked into the hall. The main hall was very spacious. There was only a black vortex around which inscriptions were shining. This was the entrance to the demonic scales plane. Lu Ming did not hesitate and stepped in. The world spun, and in the next moment, Lu Ming found himself in a huge square. A burst of noise entered Lu Ming's ears. Lu Ming then realized that there were many people in the square. All of them were young men and women under the age of 30. They were gathered in groups of 3 to 5. Some were chatting with each other, while others were sitting cross-legged with their eyes closed. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the crowd and discovered that there were hundreds of people. In front of the square, there was a majestic high wall that was 300 meters tall, surrounding the entire square. This high wall was built to defend against the Scale Devil race's attacks. This was because this was the place where the Detian Divine Guards would set off, as well as the place where they would rest, adjust, and gather. To the Scaled Demon race, they were outsiders and invaders. The Scaled Demon race naturally hated them and would attack them. Come, come, come. Our team is still short of one person. Anyone who is willing to join us? You only need to reach lever 2 Martial King Realm. Once everyone is here, we'll set off immediately. Come on, our team is lacking a martial artist who comprehended the creation of wood. As long as you know a few healing techniques, you can join. Our team is lacking a martial artist who comprehended the concept of earth and is skilled in defense. Which brother is coming? At this moment, Lu Ming heard shouts. This was the Detian Divine Guard forming a team to hunt the corpse guards of the Heavenly Corpse sect and search for treasures. Each attribute's intent realm had a different aspect that they were good at. Wind specialized in speed, and fire had terrifying explosive power. For example, the intent of wood specialized in healing, while the intent of earth and mountain specialized in defense. Only when many people formed a team and complemented each other could they unleash the strongest power. After all, it was too dangerous to go alone. Brother, you don't look familiar. Is this your first time in my dimension? At this moment, 4 young men and women walked toward Lu Ming. 3 men and 1 woman. The one walking in front was a burly young man. He looked simple and honest, and he looked at Lu Ming with a sincere smile. It was this young man who had just spoken. Yes, it's my first time here. Lu Ming said. Oh, I'm Han Man. How should I address you, brother? Han Man cupped his fists and said with a smile. I'm Lu Ming. Lu Ming answered. So it's Brother Lu. Brother Lu, our team just happens to be short of one person. I wonder if Brother Lu can join us and hunt the corpse guards of the Heavenly Corpse sect together. Han Man said, his eyes full of sincerity. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and hesitated. Brother Lu, this is Yarrow Xian. She has just joined our team. We are now short of one person. After all, 4 people is too weak. With Brother Lu, we can set off. Han Man pointed at the woman. The lady looked to be around 23 or 24 years old. She had a petite figure and an extremely delicate and beautiful appearance. She was looking at Lu Ming timidly. Furthermore, this is Brother Lu's first time in the demonic scales dimension. You might not be familiar with everything here. Join our team and we can discuss things with each other. Han Man continued. All right, I'll join. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and nodded. It was just as Han Man had said. It was his first time in the demonic scales dimension, so there were many things he did not know. He was completely clueless about the geographical location of the demonic scales dimension. It was necessary to join a team first and get familiar with it. He would consider acting alone after he was more familiar with the demonic scales plane. Chapter 516. 516 Devil Scales Race. Moreover, Han Man and the others looked sincere. They should be people who could cooperate. Therefore, Lu Ming agreed. Seeing that Lu Ming had agreed, Han Man was overjoyed. That's great. Brother Lu, let me introduce you. Han Man immediately introduced. Han Man himself was a late lever 3 Martial King. Yarrow Xian, peak lever 2 Martial King realm. The other 2 young men were really a pair of brothers. Their names were Mu Lin and Mu Sen. One of them was at the early stage of the Lever 3 Martial King realm, while the other was at the peak of the Lever 2 Martial King realm. Everyone's artistic conception was different. Some were good at defense, some were good at attacking and killing. "All right, everyone's here. Let's go," Han Man said. Immediately, the group of 5 walked towards the huge wall. Under the high wall, there was a huge stone door. The 5 of them walked out of the stone door, and beyond the high wall was a vast mountain. And NBSB, the areas around the gathering point have all been explored, and all the treasures and intent crystals have been plundered. We can only go to a wider area to find some opportunities and treasures, Zhao Feng said. However, the bigger the place, the more treasures there are, but it also means that it is more dangerous. That's because there are a large number of scaled demon race members that haven't been exterminated. What are your thoughts? Han Man asked everyone. We have no objections. The 2 brothers Mu Lin and Mu Sen nodded. I don't have any objections even if I win, Yaro Xian said timidly. I have no objections either. Lu Ming smiled faintly. All right, let's set off. It would be best if we could encounter a small-scaled demon tribe. We would be rich then. Han Man's eyes lit up. According to his experience during this period of time, there would usually be a pit of profound meaning crystals in the scaled demon races tribe where one could dig out some of the profound meaning crystals. Buzz! Buzz! The 5 of them rose into the air and headed deep into the demonic scales dimension. The demonic scales dimension was extremely huge. It was definitely one of the top small dimensions and could even be considered a medium dimension. It was so vast that it could be described as boundless. The Empyrean Heavenly Divine Palace and the Heavenly Corpse sect had already discovered the scaled demon dimension for a few months, but they had yet to explore its borders. In fact, there was still a large area that they had yet to explore. The 5 of them continued to fly, and after a day, they had already flown close to 1,000,000 miles. When they arrived here, their speed slowed down. This was because there were fewer people from the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace investigating this place, and the danger level was also higher. Look, that's the Black Forest grass. Suddenly, Mu Lin pointed at a mountain peak in front of them and shouted. Lu Ming looked over. Indeed, he saw a patch of black spiritual herbs on the cliff of the mountain. There were about a dozen of them, and they were like black jade, shining with light. It was the Black Forest grass, a medium lever 5 spiritual herb, which was very expensive. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect to see more than a dozen medium lever 5 spiritual herbs as soon as we came in. We're so lucky, Han Man said with a smile. Lu Ming also sighed in his heart. As expected of a newly discovered plane, it was rich in resources. If it was outside, level 5 spiritual herbs were extremely rare. It was very difficult to find level 5 spiritual herbs in the wild, and they had all been picked by people. Some of them were artificially cultivated, or they could only appear in some deep mountains, lakes, or dangerous places. There were also some secret realms and plains. Let's pick them and split them equally, Han Man said. The 5 of them flew towards the cliff, and with a sweep of their Zhenyuan, they plucked all the black grass from the ground. We're so lucky. There are exactly 15 stalks. We'll each take 5 stalks, Han Man said with a smile. After that, each of them took 5 of them, and all of them revealed a smile. Let's take a look around and see if there are any other spiritual herbs, Han Man suggested. All right. Everyone nodded in agreement and immediately began searching the nearby mountains. Lu Ming also rushed into a mountain peak alone and swept his gaze around. Hey! Could this be a 1,000-year violet mushroom? Lu Ming found a purple mushroom under an ancient tree. Rich spirit chi essence was exuding from the mushroom. The strength of the spiritual energy essence was even stronger than the black forest grass. It was a spiritual herb of upper lever 5, 1 level higher than the black forest grass. Lu Ming was overjoyed as he kept it. Lu Ming's current physical body had already reached complete grade 6. If he wanted to make a breakthrough, level 5 spiritual herbs were almost useless. He needed level 6 spiritual herbs. Although the level 5 spiritual medicine could not help Lu Ming to break through, it was very expensive to sell. The more such things, the better. Lu Ming was in high spirits and was about to continue his search. Boom! On a mountain peak not far away, a violent boom suddenly erupted. Scaled demon race. A loud roar came from Mu Lin. Lu Ming's figure moved and he rushed in that direction. Buzz! From a mountain peak, a figure rushed out in a sorry state. Behind him, more than a dozen burly figures, more than 2 meters tall, were chasing him. These figures looked very strange. Their facial features were similar to that of humans, but they were covered in pitch-black scales that covered their bodies like armor. This was the scaled demon race. Where? These scaled demons were shouting and shouting. No one could understand what they were shouting about. They were waving their battle axes and iron rods toward the forest. One was equivalent to the peak of the second level of the martial king realm, 3 were equivalent to the early stage of the second level, 2 were equivalent to the first level of the martial king realm, and the rest were all half-step king warriors. Lu Ming's heart stirred. And NBSB, no wonder Mu Lin had to flee. His cultivation was only at the peak lever 2 martial king realm. He was no match for so many scaled demons. Buzz! Lu Ming rushed over directly. Wah! One of the early lever 2 martial king realm scaled demons bellowed and charged at Lu Ming with his battle axe. The battle axe was swung out with a terrifying force. The physical strength of this kind of scaled demon race was extremely terrifying, and it had a strange power that was similar to true Yuan yet different. Whoosh! Lu Ming's long spear shook, turned into a flash of lightning, and shot out. Poochie! This scaled demon's forehead was pierced through. The scaled demon race member roared and fell to the ground. Such hard scales! Lu Ming muttered. Even the face of the scaled demons was covered in scales. They were extremely hard. Lu Ming felt a great resistance when he thrust his spear. At this time, Han Man, Mu Sen, and Yaro Xian had also arrived and were attacking the scaled demons. Han Man was at the peak lever 3 martial king realm, so his combat strength was extremely powerful. The peak lever 2 martial king realm scaled demon was completely suppressed by him and was killed by Han Man after a few moves. Lu Ming's long spear thrust forward and turned into a spear ray. And NBSB, 5 to 6 scaled demons were pierced by the spear light and fell to the ground. And NBSB, it didn't take long for them to all be killed. According to our past experiences, these 10 or so scaled demons should be a hunting team from a scaled demon tribe. They came out to hunt and just happened to run into us, Han Man said. Chapter 517. 517 The Heavenly Corpse Sect Takes Action. A hunting team of the scale demon race? If that's the case, there might be a tribe of the scale demon race nearby. Mu Sen's eyes lit up. With a scaled demon tribe, it meant that there was a pit of profound meaning crystals that could be dug out. The eyes of the others also lit up. 4 martial artists above the martial king realm, an intent crystal was an irresistible temptation. It could greatly increase the speed of cultivation. I wonder how big this tribe is and how strong it is. Mu Lin said. This was something they had to consider. If it was a small tribe, they could consider it. If it was a larger tribe, they could only give up. Putting everything else aside, if there was an existence equivalent to a lower tier king tier in this tribe, they would be dead for sure. However, they were not willing to give up just like that. How about this? It's not easy to encounter a scaled demon tribe in the vast mountains. Let's first find this tribe and investigate their strength before making a decision. Han Man suggested. All right, I have no objections. The others all nodded. Naturally, Lu Ming would not object to it. He was also very eager to obtain ultimacy crystals. Then, the 5 of them assigned their tasks and began to search the nearby area. A few hours later, they made a discovery. About 30,000 miles away from where they were, there was a tribe of the scaled demon race. The scaled demon race from before must have come from this tribe. The group approached carefully and began to observe carefully on a mountain peak not far away. There was a simple stone house in front of them, and within the stone house lived the scaled demon race. High stone walls were built around the stone houses. There are around 100 stone houses, and the number of scaled demons should not exceed 500. This is a small tribe, Hanman said in a low voice. Normally speaking, a small scaled demon tribe shouldn't have too many experts. There shouldn't be any king-level existences. We should be able to deal with them, Musen said. That's right. When the time comes, we just need to kill some of the strongest scaled demon race members in the tribe. The other scaled demon race members won't be a threat to us, and we can start digging the profound meaning crystal pit. Hanman nodded. Lu Ming and Yao Xian did not speak. It was their first time in the demonic scales dimension and they lacked experience. Naturally, they would not speak easily. Brother Lu, Miss Yao, what do you think? Hanman looked at Lu Ming and Yao Xian. I don't have any objections. I'll just follow your arrangement. Yao Xian whispered. I also have no objections. Lu Ming smiled faintly. All right, then we'll wait for the sky to turn dark and charge in, Hanman said. Then, everyone waited in silence. Time flew by, and night soon came. Within the tribe of the scaled demon race, everything fell into darkness. Let's go, Hanman said. Wait a moment. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly spoke and his voice was extremely low. What's wrong? Hanman and the others were a little confused, but the next moment, their faces changed slightly. Who tilde? In the dark sky, 5 pitch-black coffins suddenly broke through the air and flew towards the tribe. The Heavenly Corpse Sect. Yao Xian exclaimed. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This was the first time he had met someone from the Heavenly Corpse Sect since he entered the demonic scales dimension. It seems like the Heavenly Corpse Sect has set their eyes on this tribe. What should we do? Mu Lin asked. Let's just wait and see, and let the Heavenly Corpse Sect test the strength of this tribe, Hanman said. Hanman looked simple and honest, but he was actually very smart and had a strong cultivation. He was the leader of both Mu Lin and Mu Sen. In the blink of an eye, the 5 coffins flew into the tribe. At this time, the scaled demon race in the tribe had also discovered the people of the Heavenly Corpse Sect and let out loud roars. Then, from each of the stone houses, a tall figure rushed out. Each of them was covered in black scales. Holding battle axes, iron staffs, and other weapons, they rushed toward the people of the Heavenly Corpse Sect. Kachachi. The 5 coffins opened, and 2 refined corpses flew out of each coffin. Swish, swish, swish. The iron chains flew across the sky and stabbed toward the scaled demon race. Instantly, some of the weaker scaled demon race members were killed. The scaled demon at the forefront was the tallest of them all. He was close to 3 meters tall and had the strongest aura. He had reached the peak of Lever 3 Martial King realm. It was obvious that this scaled demon was the leader of this tribe. After he shouted a few times, some of the scaled demons below the Martial King realm retreated. Only the members of the scale demon race who were at the Martial King realm and above continued to attack the people of the Heavenly Corpse Sect. 2 peak Lever 3 Martial King realm refined corpses, and 5 at the middle and early stages of Lever 3 Martial King realm. Hanman muttered, his voice filled with fear. The power of the Heavenly Corpse Sect had completely surpassed them and the scaled demon race. And NBSB, although the scale demon race had the advantage in numbers, after the war broke out, they were still in a one-sided situation. One by one, the scaled demon race was killed. In the scaled demon race, there were 2 other people who had reached the Lever 3 Martial King realm. The gap between them and the Heavenly Corpse Sect was too great. The difference in high-end combat strength was too great. The scaled demon race below the Martial King realm let out a series of shrill screams. In the end, regardless of the difference in power, they all rushed toward the refined corpse of the Heavenly Corpse Sect. A bunch of uncivilized animals, you still want to resist, you're really looking for death. A cold voice came from one of the coffins. Then, a pale-faced young man walked out. Hehe, but these animals have pretty good bodies. It's not bad to use them to refine into refined corpses. A pale-faced young man walked out of the other coffin. The corpse guards of the Heavenly Corpse Sect. 5 young corpse guards walked out of the 5 coffins one after another. Hee, die, you animals. The 5 corpse guards sneered and then pounced toward the scaled demon warriors below the king realm. Corpse Chi surged as he waved his claws. One by one, the scaled demons were killed. Wah! And NBSB, the leader of the scale demon race, shouted and seemed to be extremely angry. And NBSB, when the scaled demon race below the king level heard the leader, they also cried out and turned around, running out of the tribe. You want to escape? Die. The 5 corpse guards waved their claws and killed the scaled demons one by one. At the same time, he controlled the refined corpse to kill the experts of the scaled demon race. The leader of the scaled demon race was finally defeated by the 2 refined corpses. His scales were pierced and torn apart before he was killed. A moment later, all the higher-ups of the scaled demon race were killed. As for those of the scaled demon race below the king level, other than a few who managed to escape, the rest of the scaled demon race were all dead, leaving behind a ground of corpses. Hehe, this trip was worth it. Not only can I get some decent corpses, but I can also get intent crystals. A corpse guard sneered and walked towards the depths of the tribe. What do we do? On the mountain peak, Mu Lin was a little anxious. Chapter 518. 518 Kill all of them. Seeing that the fat meat in his mouth was about to fly away, he was really unwilling in his heart. However, the strength of the Sky Corps sect was too strong. It was far above them. If they were to forcefully charge forward, they would only end up like the scaled demon race. Forget it, let's retreat. The Heavenly Corps sect is too powerful. Han Man said with a frown. The Heavenly Corps sect had 2 Peak Lever 3 Martial King Realm refined corpses and 5 other Lever 3 Martial King Realm refined corpses. They were too powerful for them to fight against, and this did not include the 5 corpse guards. The 5 corpse guards were not a weak force. It's not easy to find such a place, how can I miss it so easily? At this moment, Lu Ming spoke. Han Man, Mu Lin, and the others were all stunned. Then, he looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. Lu Ming, what do you want to do? You can't be thinking of killing your way up there, right? That's a dead end. Mu Sen said. If you haven't fought, how do you know that you'll die? Lu Ming smiled and stood up. He stepped on the air and headed toward the tribe of the scale demon race. Lu Ming, Yarrow Xian exclaimed in a low voice. She wanted to follow Lu Ming but she did not dare to and was hesitating. Han Man, Mu Sen, and Mu Lin looked at each other, but did not follow. Instead, their eyes flashed with a trace of gloominess. Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. In just a few steps, he had appeared in the sky above the tribe of the scale demon race. Who is it? One of the corpse guards shouted and looked at Lu Ming coldly. The other 4 corpse guards also looked at Lu Ming. The person who will kill you, Lu Ming said calmly. His voice was calm, but there was a cold murderous intent in it. Kill us. Haha, just you? It's a big joke. A corpse guard laughed loudly, filled with disdain. Brat, you're the Ditien Divine Guard, right? Hehe, a Ditien Divine Guard actually dares to appear when he sees us. He's really looking for death. Kill him. A corpse guard shouted. Buzz. A refined corpse at the intermediate Lever 3 Martial King Realm waved its arms and chains shot out like poisonous snakes, winding around Lu Ming. Boom. Lu Ming released his aura and waved his spear. A few iron chains were sent flying by Lu Ming. You're only at the Peak Lever 2 Martial King Realm. How dare you resist? You're looking for death. The corpse guard shouted and controlled the Peak Lever 3 Martial King Realm refined corpse to charge at Lu Ming. The other 4 corpse guards stood at the side and didn't make a move, looking like they were watching a good show. I'm too lazy to play with you guys, die. Lu Ming shouted coldly. The concept of thunder soared into the sky and combined with Lu Ming's spear technique. Whoosh. The spear turned into a lightning spear radiance and pierced through everything. The refined corpse was afraid of lightning. Moreover, Lu Ming's lightning concept had already reached the middle stage of level 1 lower tier. With a bang, the refined corpse was struck by the lightning spear radiance and turned into charcoal. Initial success of Thunder concept. You. That corpse guard shouted in shock. Die. Lu Ming said in a cold voice. Another lightning spear was thrust out. That corpse guard wanted to retreat in fear, but how could he avoid it? He was struck by the lightning spear radiance, and a huge hole was blasted in his chest. Corpse chi gushed out of his body, and he was no longer breathing. Damn it, let's attack together and kill him. The other 4 corpse guards were shocked and furious. They roared and controlled the refined corpses to attack Lu Ming. There were a total of 9 refined corpses. 6 of them were Lever 3 Martial King Realm and above, while the remaining 3 were Lever 2 Martial King Realm. A bunch of trash who toyed with other people's corpses. All of you shall die. Boom. Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand. The spear's gleam grew to 1,000 meters long and swept in all directions with the momentum of sweeping away thousands of troops. Bang! 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 The 9 refined corpses were like 9 broken gunny sacks. They were sent flying by Lu Ming without any resistance. How is this possible? The 4 corpse guards were tongue-tied, and their eyes almost exploded with disbelief. Lu Ming, a mere second-level martial king, his combat strength was too terrifying. Not good, quickly retreat. One of the corpse guards shouted in shock. Without the protection of the corpse guards, their battle strength would be greatly reduced. It's too late to retreat now. Gakudo path attack. Whoosh. Lu Ming became one with the spear and turned into a ray of spear radiance that pierced through the void. A corpse guard at the peak Lever 3 Martial King Realm died on the spot after being pierced through the glabella. Ah! The other 3 corpse guards shouted in fear and scattered. On the mountain peak not far away, Han Man and the others were also dumbfounded. Attack and help Lu Ming. Han Man's eyes flashed with a trace of gloominess, and with a low shout, he rushed out. Then, Mu Lin, Mu Sen, and Yaro Xian also rushed over and attacked one of the corpse guards. Whoosh! Lu Ming seemed to have turned into a bolt of lightning. In a flash, he appeared behind a corpse guard and stabbed with his spear, finishing off the corpse guard. Then, his body moved and pounced on the next corpse guard. When Lu Ming finished off the 4th corpse guard, Han Man and the rest had also killed the 5th corpse guard. Once the corpse guard died, those refined corpses all stood in the void without moving. Brother Lu, you really don't reveal your true abilities. I didn't expect you to be so strong. I really admire you. Han Man and the rest flew towards Lu Ming, their faces full of surprise. Han Man was the first to greet him with cupped fists. When did such a genius like Brother Lu appear in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? We didn't even know about it. It seems like our information is too outdated. Mu Sen also cupped his hands and laughed. Yaro Xian, on the other hand, looked at Lu Ming with curiosity and admiration. The 5 powerful corpse guards were actually killed by Lu Ming in a few moves. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, it would have been unbelievable. You're welcome. Now, seal the soul, Lu Ming said. Lu Ming took out the soul-sealing crystal and started to seal the corpse guard's soul. Normally, a warrior's soul would not dissipate for 10 minutes after death. However, after 10 minutes, the soul would dissipate and it would be difficult to seal it. Lu Ming took out a piece of soul-sealing crystal and placed it on top of a corpse guard's corpse, injecting his essential core. Complex runes appeared on the surface of the soul-sealing crystal, and then it produced a suction force that pulled out a black smoke from the corpse guard's body. The smoke kept twisting, and its shape was very similar to that corpse guard. This was the soul of that corpse guard. The soul of the corpse guard flew into the soul-sealing crystal, and a layer of black mist appeared on the surface of the soul-sealing crystal. The seal was successful. Lu Ming kept it. On the other side, Han Man and the others only sealed the soul of the corpse guard they had killed. They did not touch the other corpse guards that Lu Ming had killed. Whoever killed him would have his soul. This was the rule. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony. He sealed the souls of the remaining 3 corpse guards one by one. Alright, now, let's go take a look at the Intent Crystal Pit. There was a flash of anticipation in Lu Ming's eyes. Intent crystals were what he desired. Immediately, The 5 of them walked towards the depths of the scaled demon tribe. Chapter 519. 519 Middle Grade Intent Crystal. In the depths of the tribe, there were 7 stone altars. The 7 altars formed a circle, surrounding a large pit in the middle. After Lu Ming and the group walked closer, they realized that there was a mysterious aura constantly emanating from the huge pit. It was the aura of the essence realm of heaven and earth. This huge pit was the so-called pit of intent crystals. Earth concept. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He was a little disappointed. The profound meaning crystal pit exuded an aura of earth intent, which meant that this deep pit contained earth element intent crystals. He couldn't use the earth element intent crystals directly, so he could only exchange them. Let's start digging. Let's go, Lu Ming said. He walked to the big pit, took out a big knife, and started to dig. Buzz. The big knife chopped down, and it actually made a clanging sound. The stone in the big pit was actually extremely hard. However, under Lu Ming's powerful essential core, they were still cut off piece by piece. Let's attack together. Let's go. Han Man called out. Mu Sen and the others walked into the pit, took out various weapons, and began to dig. The 5 of them worked together and were very fast. Soon, they had dug out a pit that was 3 meters wide and 10 meters deep. At this moment, the aura of the creation of earth beneath his feet became even more intense. The 5 people's spirits were shaken, and they began to dig even harder. Not long after, the pit was dug to a depth of 20 meters. There's an intent crystal here. A clear and excited voice rang out. It was Yarrow Xian. He didn't expect Yarrow Xian to be the first one to find an intent crystal. Everyone looked over. On the stone wall in front of Yarrow Xian, there was a khaki-colored intent crystal embedded in it. It exuded a strong aura of the intent of earth. Miss Yao, put it away first. Han Man said. Yarrow Xian nodded. She carefully dug out the power Upanishad crystal and put it into a jade box. Then, everyone started to dig even harder. With Yarrow Xian's good start, everyone's harvest came. More and more intent crystals were dug out. And NBSB, these intent crystals had been buried deep in the earth and had only formed after countless years. And NBSB, the 5 of them continued to dig, and they found more and more intent crystals. 2 hours later, the 5 of them had dug the pit to 10 meters wide and 50 meters deep. They had obtained a total of 26 earth element intent crystals. Haha, I didn't think that there would be more than 20 intent crystals in this pit. It's already pretty good. Han Man said with a smile. At this point, not a single trace of the earth concept could be felt from the deep pit. This meant that they had already excavated all the profound crystal stones in this pit. What? At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly felt that there was a stone under his feet. It was extremely special. The stone was the size of a human head. Lu Ming had dug it out and put it aside casually. However, he realized that the color of the stone was different from the surrounding stones. This stone seemed to be crystallized, and its surface was emitting a faint fluorescent light. Lu Ming casually slashed the stone. Clang! Sparks flew when the saber slashed down and Lu Ming's saber bounced back. It's so hard. Lu Ming was shocked. The saber in his hand was an upper 4th level spiritual weapon. It was extremely sharp and could cut a mountain in half with a casual slash. However, the stone was not cut open and only left a mark on it. Han Man and the others also looked over curiously. Interesting. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The vital essence in his body surged wildly toward the saber. At the same time, the 3 concepts were integrated into the saber. Immediately, he slashed at the stone. A violent sound of friction was heard and sparks flew in all directions. The rock was still not cut open, but it cracked. At the same time, an unbelievably strong concept of earth spread out from the stone. How can this intent be so dense? Lu Ming was shocked. Han Man and the others also widened their eyes in shock. This intent of earth was simply too dense and intense. The other earth element intent crystals were like trash in front of this intent of earth. Lu Ming could feel his heart beating faster. With a move of his hand, the saber in Lu Ming's hand disappeared and a big hammer appeared. Buzz! The sledgehammer smashed down on the rock. Bang! Broken stones flew everywhere. The stone finally cracked completely, revealing what was inside. It was a crystal, a glistening yellow crystal. This crystal exuded a strong intent realm of heaven and earth. Everyone seemed to be able to see the power Upanishad threads floating in the sky. Could this be a middle-grade earth attribute intent crystal? Hanman's voice trembled as he growled. His eyes were burning with passion. Middle-grade intent crystals? The others were also shocked. Their eyes were wide open as they stared at the crystal. Middle-grade intent crystals? Lu Ming was also extremely shocked. Then, his quintessential essence exploded and with a sweep, he caught the esoteric crystal in his hand. The others' gazes immediately gathered on Lu Ming's palm. "All right, now, let's distribute the intent crystals," Lu Ming said calmly. Han Man, Mu Sen, and Mu Lin looked at each other, and then their eyes flashed. "How about this? This time, it's all thanks to Brother Lu that we were able to enter this place. If it weren't for Brother Lu killing the Heavenly Corpse Sect's corpse guard, we would have had to retreat and wouldn't have had the chance to excavate the profound meaning crystal. So, I suggest that the mid-grade profound meaning crystal will belong to Brother Lu, and we'll split the other low-grade profound meaning crystals equally. What do you think?" Han Man suggested. "All right, I have no objections." "I also have no objections." Mu Sen and Mu Lin spoke one after the other. They were very straightforward. Yarrow Xian was the only one who looked at Lu Ming with a complicated gaze. She was reluctant to part with him. After all, middle-grade intent crystals were too precious. Finally, Yarrow Xian gritted her teeth and whispered, "I also have no objections." Then, "Thank you, everyone." Lu Ming cupped his fists and unceremoniously took the middle-grade profound meaning crystal for himself. And NBSB, afterward, they distributed the low-grade intent crystals. There were a total of 26 pieces, 5 for each of them. Hanman took out 1,000 top-quality spirit crystals to buy the extra piece, and then split the remaining 1,000 equally. Lu Ming did not mind. He kept the esoteric crystals and spirit crystals casually. Let's destroy those refined corpses. Otherwise, if the people of the Heavenly Corpse sect come across them and take them back, there'll be a disaster, Han Man suggested. Everyone nodded. Lu Ming waved his hand and the thunder concept turned into spear lights and flew out, turning the refined corpses into charcoal. After finishing them off, the 5 of them rose into the air and left. In the next 2 days, the 5 of them searched within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. They did encounter another tribe of the scaled demon race, but this tribe was too big. Roughly estimating, there were more than 10,000 of them. They observed from afar and discovered that there were at least 5 scaled demon race experts. They weren't someone they could deal with. Chapter 520. 520 Meeting the Sheng family again. They took a long way around and searched in other places. This plain was indeed a newly discovered plain. It was rich in resources. In the past few days, they had found about 50 stalks of level 5 spiritual herbs, spiritual flowers, and some level 5 blacksmithing materials. All of these added together were worth a lot. However, he did not encounter anyone from the Heavenly Corpse sect. "Heh! What's that?" Suddenly, Mu Sen pointed to a valley in front of them. The valley wasn't big, and there were flashes of red light in the valley. "Let's go and take a look." The 5 of them flew towards the valley. When they flew in, they were shocked. It was a large patch of red spiritual flowers. Each spiritual flower was red like a burning flame, emitting a strong medicinal fragrance. "This is a level 4 spiritual flower, fire cage flower," Han Man said in surprise. Level 4 spiritual flowers did not surprise them that much. The main thing was that there were too many of them. They were densely packed, covering more than half of the valley. A rough estimate would put there at least 1,000 of them. A small valley could actually produce so many fire cage flowers. It was simply unbelievable and abnormal. Fire concept. There's a faint fire concept here. It's covered by these fire cage flowers. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke. Among the 5 of them, he was the only one who cultivated the fire concept. Although the fire concept here was very faint, Lu Ming could still sense it. Fire concept. Han Man and the others frowned, but their eyes suddenly lit up. It's very likely that there's a pit of intent crystals below that contains fire-type intent crystals. That's why so many fire cage flowers have been born. Han Man said in surprise. Lu Ming nodded. He had the same guess. Immediately, the 5 of them picked all the fire cage flowers. After counting, there were a total of about 1,200 stalks. If the 5 of them split it evenly, each of them would have more than 200 stalks. After the fire cage flower was plucked, the red soil was revealed. A strong fire concept aura filled the air, extremely dense. As expected, it's an intent crystal pit. Ha ha ha, I'm so lucky. Mu Lin laughed. Let's start digging. Lu Ming also revealed a smile. Immediately, the 5 of them began to dig. As expected, not long after, Han Man was the first to discover a fire-type intent crystal. Of course, it was low-grade. The 5 of them dug even harder. Buzz. And NBSB, whoosh. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. 3 figures appeared in the sky. The 3 young men had cold and arrogant looks on their faces. The 3 of them swept their gazes below and revealed excited smiles. Haha, we're so lucky. There's a profound meaning crystal pit here. We'll make a fortune again. One of the young men laughed. Then, he looked at Lu Ming and the rest with a cold gaze and chided, hurry up and get lost. This place belongs to us now. Ha ha ha, what a joke. We were the ones who discovered this place first. Han Man laughed. So what if you found out? If I say it's ours now, it's ours. A purple-robed young man sneered. On what basis? Mu Sen was furious. On what basis? Just because we're the direct descendants of the Sheng family. Kid, look carefully. The purple-robed young man waved his hand and a token appeared. It was bright and there were 2 big words on the token, Sheng Tian. The Sagely Sky Command token, Mu Sen, Mu Lin, and the others exclaimed. As expected, he was a direct descendant of the Sheng family. Now, you can get lost. The purple-robed youth sneered. Detestable. Mu Sen growled. You 3, so what if you are the direct descendants of the Sheng family? We found this place first, so according to the rules, it's ours. Please go back. Han Man took a step forward, his voice resounding. Brat, you dare to resist my Sheng family? You're courting death. The purple-robed youth shouted. Boom, boom, boom. 3 powerful auras burst out from the 3 young men of the Sheng family. The purple-robed young man was at the peak Lever 3 Martial King realm. The other 2 young men from the Sheng family were at the early stage of Lever 3 Martial King realm. The 3 of them burst out with a powerful aura, which spread toward Han Man. You're going too far, Han Man shouted, and a powerful aura burst out from his body. At the same time, Mu Sen and Mu Lin's bodies also burst out with a powerful aura, joining with Han Man to resist the young man from Sheng family. This. Yarrow Xian was a little hesitant. She glanced at Lu Ming, bit her lips, and released her aura. Lu Ming's eyes flickered and an inexplicable smile appeared on his lips. Then, a powerful aura burst out from his body. The combined strength of the 5 of them was no weaker than that of the Sheng family. How audacious. You still dare to resist. How dare you? The purple-robed young man shouted, and his face was filled with cold killing intent. At most, we'll just fight. I'm not afraid. Even if this goes to the palace master, we'll be in the right. Han Man shouted, not giving in. Good, good, very good. The purple-robed young man laughed out of anger and said good several times, but there was hesitation in his eyes. I'll remember you, the purple-robed young man said coldly after a while. I'll let you go today. Go. Then, he waved his hand and flew away with the other 2 young men. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. Let's continue digging. We have to be quick. If the Sheng family comes again, We'll be in trouble. Han Man said. All right. Mu Sen and the rest responded and dug even harder. No one noticed that the inexplicable smile at the corner of Lu Ming's mouth had grown wider. Half an hour later, more than half of the valley had been dug through. This time, they had dug out a total of 30 fire attribute intent crystals. It was a pity that the 5 of them had searched the entire place but did not find any middle-grade intent crystals. Lu Ming secretly sighed in pity. If he had a middle-grade fire-type profound meaning crystal, he would be able to use it to condense a fire concept rune in one fell swoop. It seemed that he could only go to the mystical treasure house in Tianxian City and see if he could exchange earth element mid-grade profound meaning crystals for a fire element mid-grade profound meaning crystal. Moreover, even if they could exchange for it, the handling fee would definitely not be low. Let's quickly leave this place, Han Man said. And NBSB. Afterward, everyone divided the 30 fire intent crystals equally, then rose into the air and left. A few hours later, the 5 of them were already 100,000 miles away. At this time, night had fallen. The 5 of them lit a bonfire and hunted a few demonic beasts in the nearby forest. They began to roast them. There were also demonic beasts on this plain, but their levels were not very high. Soon, the demonic beast meat was roasted to a golden yellow, and the fragrance assailed the nostrils. Haha, come, I've brought some fruit wine from my hometown. This fruit wine is a specialty of my hometown and is extremely famous. It's brewed with 108 types of spirit fruits. Try it. Han Man laughed heartily and took out 5 jars of wine. He handed 1 jar to Lu Ming, Yarou Xian, and the rest. Chapter 521. 521 Human Face, Beast Heart. Lu Ming took it and opened the wine jar. A strong fragrance immediately assailed his nose. It's indeed good wine, Lu Ming said with a smile. Haha, of course it's good wine. Come, drink. Han Man laughed heartily and took a few big gulps of wine. Come. Mu Sen and Mu Lin also lifted their wine jars and took a few big gulps. Lu Ming smiled and picked up the wine jar as well. He took a few big gulps and felt the rich aroma of the wine. He could not help but say, it's indeed good wine. On the side, Yarou Xian also took a few sips, and her cheeks flushed red. Following that, everyone tore off the roasted demonic beast meat and ate and drank it in large mouthfuls with fruit wine. Not long after, the jar of wine was finished. Even Yarou Xian had drunk half a jar. Her face was red and extremely cute. Han Man's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. A fiery light flashed in his eyes, and he quickly turned his head away. You guys, when do you plan to take action? At this moment, Lu Ming put down the wine jar and suddenly asked. He was asking about Han Man, Mu Sen, and Mu Lin. The few of them were stunned and revealed a puzzled expression. What do you mean? Brother Lu, what do you mean? Of course you're going to attack me? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Han Man and the others' faces changed drastically, and a trace of panic flashed through their eyes. Brother Lu, you must be joking. Why would we attack you? Han Man smiled. At the side, Yarou Xian also looked puzzled. She blinked her big eyes and looked at Lu Ming. You're still pretending? You think it's flawless, but you don't know that it's full of flaws. Lu Ming's voice slowly turned cold. Brother Lu, are you mistaken? Han Man's face turned ugly. Misunderstanding? Hehe, the moment I entered the demonic scales dimension, you guys came looking for me and invited me to join your team. What a coincidence. Lu Ming said indifferently. Brother Lu, this is really a coincidence. At that time, we had just invited Miss Yarou Xian to join us and we were still short one person. When we saw Brother Lu coming in, we invited you. Han Man explained. Okay, this point is reasonable. However, you guys were too generous when we excavated mid-rank earth element intent crystals. Middle-grade profound meaning crystals are extremely precious. One of them is equivalent to 1,000 pieces of high-grade and low-grade profound meaning crystals, but you guys are so generous. You gave them to me without even thinking about it. Most people would definitely be reluctant to part with them and give me a passionate look, but you guys don't. This is too abnormal. It's very simple. You guys just want to win my trust. Also, when we met the people of the Sheng family, it was just a show put on by you and the Sheng family. The people of the Sheng family have always been high and mighty. They are all very proud. How could they retreat just because of a few words from you? An ordinary person wouldn't dare to go against the Sheng family, but you guys did it. You acted as if you were fearless, and the Sheng family even retreated. Hehe, this is nothing more than you trying to lower my guard and win my trust. Unfortunately, your acting was too much. Lu Ming explained calmly. Han Man, Mu Sen, and Mu Lin's faces turned ugly. At this moment, Yarrow Xian's body suddenly trembled. Her face turned pale, and her body seemed to have lost all strength. She suddenly went soft and fell to the ground. What's going on? Why do I suddenly feel so weak? I can't even use my true essence. Yarrow Xian cried out in panic. At this moment, Lu Ming's expression changed as well. He turned pale and his body fell backward slightly. He roared, "You guys poisoned the wine." Poison? No, I didn't. Brother Lu, please don't say that. Han Man denied. You're still denying it. My whole body is soft and I can't use my true essence. I'm clearly poisoned. Lu Ming roared angrily. I've been poisoned too. Why are you all fine? Yarrow Xian looked at the three of them in panic. Han Man and the other two were indeed fine. Han Man sized Lu Ming up carefully, his eyes shining brighter and brighter. Then, he laughed smugly. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, you've been poisoned. You've been poisoned by the 10 fragrant tendon softening powder. Your body is weak and you can't mobilize your vital essence. Now, you're a piece of fish on the chopping board. You guys. You really did poison her. Why? Yarrow Xian cried out in disbelief. Why? It's all because this brat is overestimating himself. He even dared to offend the Sheng family. Isn't he courting death? You're just a tool that we're using. Han Man glanced at Yarrow Xian, his face was gloomy, and he no longer looked as simple and honest as before. Mu Sen and Mu Lin's expressions were similar. You're just trying to lower my guard by bringing Yarrow Xian along. But there's one more thing that I really can't figure out. Lu Ming said. Oh, what is it? I don't mind explaining it to you, Han Man said with a proud smile. He was not afraid that Lu Ming would delay the time because the longer the 10 fragrant tendon softening powder was used, the more powerful the effects would be. If the Sheng family wanted to deal with me, they could have just sent experts to kill me. Why did they send you to get close to me and poison me in the dark? My cultivation is not strong enough for the Sheng family to send someone to assassinate me. Lu Ming said. Hehe, Lu Ming, it's easy for the Sheng family to kill you. But wouldn't it be too easy for you to kill you just like that? What the Sheng family wants is for your reputation to be ruined and your name to be infamous for thousands of years. If you did something to Yarrow Xian and killed her after that, we would arrive at the right time and take you down. How do you think the higher-ups of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace would look at you? Also, how would that Miss Mulan look at you? Han Man sneered. Lu Ming came to a realization. It turned out that this was the Sheng family's purpose. They wanted to ruin his reputation. They were really vicious. Yarrow Xian's face was pale and her eyes were filled with fear. Her body trembled as she shouted, I don't know anything. I beg you, please let me go. Let you go. How was that possible? If you want to blame someone, blame your bad luck. Han Man sneered, his eyes swept over Yarrow Xian's body and revealed a burning light. Lu Ming, I'll help you with this chicks. Ha ha. Han Man walked toward Yarrow Xian with a smirk on his face. Don't come over, you beast. Yarrow Xian's body trembled even more as tears streamed down her face. She had never thought that Han Man, who originally looked honest and kind, would be such a beast in heart. Yarrow Xian, it's such a pity for a beauty like you to die. Before you die, let me enjoy you. Han Man laughed evilly. On the side, Mu Sen and Mu Lin both revealed envious expressions. Scumbags like you have deceived so many people. It's a waste of air to live in this world. At this moment, Lu Ming sighed slightly. Lu Ming, you're on the verge of death and you're still whining. You're looking for a beating. Mu Lin aimed a kick at Lu Ming's face. Chapter 522. 522 Not letting a single one off. Pa. The next moment, the sound of a slap was heard, extremely clear and crisp. With a scream, Mu Lin's body flew far away and broke a big tree. He fell to the ground and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Han Man's forward step stopped in the air, his face showing a horrified expression, and his whole body stiffened. Mu Sen's face was filled with shock. At this moment, Lu Ming stood up slowly. His pale face had turned rosy. Vital essence filled his body and a powerful aura was exuded. Han Man's eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. He shouted, "How is that possible? You've clearly drunk a jar of wine and been poisoned by the 10 fragrant tendon softening powder. Even a king tier at the upper tier would go soft if he were to consume the 10 fragrant tendon softening powder. How are you still fine?" Han Man screamed in disbelief. "I forgot to tell you that poison is ineffective against me," Lu Ming said indifferently. His voice was extremely cold. He had the bloodline of the 9 dragons, so he could devour any poison that entered his body. Although the 10 fragrant tendon softening powder was colorless, odorless, and hard to detect, the 9 dragon bloodline could sense it when Lu Ming took the first sip of the wine and immediately swallowed the 10 fragrant tendon softening powder. Lu Ming pretended not to know anything and deliberately finished the jar of wine. He wanted to see what Han Man and the rest were up to. Han Man and Mu Sen's bodies trembled slightly. They had already witnessed Lu Ming's combat strength against the people from the Heavenly Corpse sect. He was not someone they could fight against. Let's go quickly. Inform the Sheng family." Han Man roared and retreated at the same time. On the other side, Mu Sen was also retreating rapidly. As for the forest, they couldn't care less. It's not that easy to leave. Die. Whoosh. A lightning spear light instantly crossed 10 miles of void space and pierced through Mu Sen's chest. He was killed in one move. Buzz. Immediately, Lu Ming cast the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps and chased after Han Man. No. Han Man's face changed. He waved his hand and a beam of light shot up into the sky. This was a signal. Help, help. Han Man shouted as he ran. At this moment, he was almost scared out of his wits. Usually, he had won the trust of many people by looking simple and honest. He had secretly harmed many people. He felt extremely refreshed when he saw those who had started to trust him die in front of him. Now, when he saw that Mu Sen had been killed, he felt a chill all over his body and was extremely frightened. Die. The 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps was so fast that he caught up with Han Man in an instant. No, don't kill me, help. Han Man shouted hysterically and ran for his life. However, it was all in vain. The terrifying lightning spear pierced through the air and blasted a huge hole in Han Man's chest. No, I don't want to die. Save me. Looking at the huge hole in his chest, Han Man was still alive, and he screamed in fear. His eyes were filled with regret. If he had known that this would happen, he would never have agreed to the Sheng family to deal with Lu Ming. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Lu Ming looked at him coldly. "Haha, Lu Ming, you've offended the Sheng family. You won't be able to live. You'll have to come down and accompany me sooner or later. I'll be waiting for you down there." Seeing that he was not going to live, Han Man cursed madly. Then, his life force dissipated, and his body fell to the ground. Lu Ming's vital essence rolled up and Han Man's storage ring was taken. Then, the devouring power burst out and devoured Han Man's blood essence. In a flash, he appeared beside Mu Lin. As Mu Lin screamed in fear, he was stabbed to death. Boom. 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 At this time, a violent rumbling sound came from the distance. It was the sound of sonic booms caused by the martial artists flying too fast. Some people had come, and there were quite a few of them, dozens of them. All of them were experts. There were 5 or 6 auras that were unfathomably deep and incomparably thick. The people from the Sheng clan came pretty quickly. Moreover, there are actually 5 lower-tier king tiers. Lu Ming's eyes flickered and his figure flashed. He took Mu Sen's blood essence and storage ring. Save me, Yaro Xian called out. Lu Min's expression changed and she appeared beside Yaro Xian. She hugged her waist and flew into the sky, flying into the distance. Yaro Xian was implicated because of him. It was not Lu Ming's style to leave her behind. Damn it, it's Lu Ming, Han Man, and the rest of the trash. They can't even do such a thing. Chase after him and kill him. A furious roar sounded. Chase. Buzz. And NBSB. Whoosh. There were at least 20 people who were chasing after Lu Ming at high speed. Saint Air, Saint Might, Saint Wind, and Saint River. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and he saw a few familiar faces in the crowd. I won't play with you guys now, but once my cultivation improves, I won't let any of you off. Lu Ming snorted coldly and immediately cast the 9 Dragons' Heaven Treading Steps. With the 9 Dragons' Heaven Treading Steps, his speed was unbelievably fast, and he could fly 100 miles in an instant. A moment later, the people from the Sheng family had been left behind by Lu Ming and disappeared. Lu Ming did not stop. He continued to fly for about 100,000 miles before he found an extremely hidden underground cave and entered it. The people from the Sheng family stopped 100,000 miles away from Lu Ming. The one leading them was Saint Jade. At this moment, Sheng Yu's face was extremely ugly. He roared, "Search! We must find Lu Ming, this bastard." Yes. Immediately, the 20-odd geniuses of the Sheng family split into 5 teams. Each team was led by a lower-tier king. They scattered and continued to pursue. Lu Ming carried Yaro Xian and entered an underground cave. Lu. Brother, let me down. Yaro Xian called out softly. Oh. Lu Ming nodded and put Yaro Xian down gently. Cough, cough, Miss Yaro Xian, the effects of the 10 fragrant tendon softening powder will wear off in 3 days. You can stay here for now and leave on your own 3 days later, Lu Ming said. You. Where do you want to go? Yaro Xian asked. Me. Of course, I'm looking for the Sheng family's trash. Lu Ming smiled coldly. Find the Sheng family? Yaro Xian exclaimed in shock. Lu Ming actually dared to look for the Sheng family? Now, shouldn't they be avoiding the Sheng family? She could not figure it out. Miss Yao, farewell. Lu Ming cupped his fists and left the underground cave. He appeared on an ancient tree. After a moment, Lu Ming had an idea and appeared in the Supreme Shrine. I don't know how many spiritual crystals there are. It should be enough for me to break through to the 3rd level of the Martial King realm. Lu Ming took out the storage rings of Han Man and the other 2 and muttered to himself. Chapter 523. 523 Killing a lower-tier king tier. Immediately, Lu Ming's mind sank into a few storage rings. Lu Ming did not care about the other items. He first cleared out all the best-grade spiritual crystals. Han Man, Mu Sen, and Mu Lin had a total of about 100,000 top-quality spiritual crystals. In addition to the 60,000 that Lu Ming originally had, he now had a total of 160,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals. 160,000 spiritual crystals of the best quality is enough for me to break through to the Lever 3 Martial King realm. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He waved his hand and 20,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals floated in the air. Bang! 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 All 20,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals exploded. Lu Ming controlled the 9-dragon bloodline and devoured all the spiritual qi in the top-grade spiritual crystals. He then began to break through to the 3rd level of the Martial King realm. Soon, 20,000 pieces of top-grade spirit crystals were refined and Lu Ming took out another 20,000. 20,000 and 20,000. Very soon, Lu Ming had refined a total of 120,000 pieces of top-grade spirit crystals. Break. The vital essence converted from 120,000 pieces of supreme spiritual crystals was extremely vast and rich. The vast true energy surged and charged towards the Lever 3 Martial King realm. Boom. A moment later, there was a loud boom and the aura on Lu Ming's body expanded rapidly. He had broken through to the third level of the martial king realm. After spending 120,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals, Lu Ming's cultivation finally broke through to the third level of the martial king realm, and his strength had increased greatly. Continue. Lu Ming simply took out the last 40,000 pieces of top-grade spirit crystals and devoured them all to improve his cultivation. Soon, the last 40,000 pieces of top-grade spirit crystals were all converted into Lu Ming's essential core. Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the peak of the early stage of the third-level martial king realm, but he had not broken through to the middle stage. At Lever 3 martial king realm, the number of supreme spiritual crystals required for a breakthrough had increased. Early stage of Lever 3 martial king realm. I wonder how he'll fare against a lower-tier king? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. In the next moment, he left the supreme shrine and soared into the sky, flying back the way he came. Soon, tens of thousands of miles were covered in a flash. Suddenly, Lu Ming stopped. In front of him, there were 6 figures flying at high speed. Suddenly dash. Lu Ming, that's Lu Ming in front. Lu Ming is in front. Speed up. Don't let him escape. A few loud roars were heard and 6 figures rushed toward Lu Ming at lightning speed. These 6 people were the 6 young men from the Sheng family. Lu Ming stood in the void, motionless. The space trembled and 6 youths from the Sheng family flew over, surrounding Lu Ming. A surging aura emerged from the young man of the Sheng family without any concealment. 1 middle stage Lever 4 martial king realm, 3 Lever 3 martial king realm, and 2 Lever 2 martial king realm. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the 6 youths from the Sheng family and was very clear about their cultivation. Haha, this guy actually didn't run. Could it be that he's scared silly? No matter what. This credit is ours. The few youths from the Sheng family laughed and looked at Lu Ming with a mocking expression as if they could manipulate Lu Ming at will. Be careful when you attack later. This guy is not simple. The lower-tier king tier frowned. With you around, Brother Chong, this guy won't be able to do much. Another young man laughed. Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, but there was still a gap between him and a lower-tier king. They were very assured. Are you done with your nonsense? If you are, you can die. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke. What? The 6 young men of the Sheng family were slightly stunned. Boom. Lu Ming's cultivation erupted and a huge spear's gleam swept out. The spear's radiance swept in all directions. Not good. The 6 young men's expressions changed drastically. The leader of the group, a lower-tier king saint, burst out with a terrifying aura. He slashed out with his blade, and the first-level lower-tier earth will burst out. The other 5 young men also unleashed their full strength. This was because Lu Ming's shot made them feel danger. Boom, boom, boom. After 6 consecutive booms, the 5 young men of the Sheng family were forced back like cannonballs. Even Sheng Qiong's body trembled. He took 9 steps back in the air before he stopped. With your battle prowess, how is this possible? Sheng Qiong's eyes were filled with disbelief. Lu Ming could actually force him back with 1 shot. How was that possible? It was a king tier at the lower tier. An initial king tier is only SOSO. Kill. Lu Ming shouted coldly and took a step forward. Lu Ming's figure suddenly disappeared after he took that step. He didn't charge towards Sheng Qiong, but towards the other 5. Not good, retreat, you guys quickly retreat. Sheng Qiong's expression changed drastically. He roared and flew after Lu Ming. Whoosh, whoosh. However, Lu Ming's speed was too fast. In an instant, he appeared in front of the 2 third-level martial king realm youths. 2 rays of sharp spear light were sent out toward the 2 of them. No. The 2 of them roared in shock and used all their strength to block it. However, now that Lu Ming had reached the 3rd level of the martial king realm, how could they possibly resist him? The difference was too great. 2 spear lights pierced through the throats of 2 people. Blood gushed out of the 2, and they immediately died. The devouring power burst forth and devoured their blood essence. At the same time, Lu Ming used his essential core to sweep up their storage rings and put them into the supreme shrine. Then, in a flash, he charged towards the remaining 3. The 3 of them were horrified and ran for their lives. However, Lu Ming's 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps was too fast for them to escape. With 3 consecutive screams, the remaining 3 youths of the Sheng family were all killed by Lu Ming. Of course, Lu Ming would not let go of the storage ring and the blood essence. Damn it, damn it. How dare you kill the hero of the Sheng family? Lu Ming, no one can save you. Sheng Qiong cried out hysterically as he watched the 5 young men of the Sheng family being killed. Now, it's your turn. Lu Ming looked at Sheng Qiong. Haha, you still want to kill me? I admit that your combat strength is indeed powerful and has surpassed mine, but it's only by a little. I'm determined to leave, so how can you keep me here? Lu Ming, just wait for the Sheng family's revenge. Sheng Qiong laughed coldly and was about to retreat. Die. A Gakudo path attack. Lu Ming's body swayed like a dragon. He became one with the spear and launched a shocking attack. This strike pierced through the void and instantly appeared in front of Sheng Qiong. Sheng Qiong's pupils contracted sharply. Lu Ming's shot made him feel a fatal threat. Block it, block it. Sheng Qiong roared in his heart as he circulated his first-level lower-tier Earth concept to the extreme. The Earth spiritual energy in the world gathered madly, forming stone tablets that blocked in front of him. In an instant, Sheng Qiong had laid down 99 stone tablets. The Earth concept was most skilled in defense. But, bang, bang, bang. The stone tablets were like paper under Lu Ming's spear ray. In an instant, 99 explosions rang out and 99 stone tablets were pierced through, leaving holes that were bright from the front and back. Bloodlight shot out and a hole appeared between Sheng Qiong's eyebrows. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.